Hilbert's Hotel. Have you ever imagined a hotel so vast that it never runs out of rooms, no matter how many guests arrive? Picture yourself at a grand lobby where a new visitor steps up to the desk and the manager calmly smiles, saying, Of course we have a room for you, even though every room already holds someone. This is not a scene from a dream or a trick. It is the mind-bending world of Hilbert's Hotel, a place of endless rooms and surprising logic. If this idea makes you pause and wonder, share in the comments where you're watching from and how it feels to imagine a hotel that never fills. Does it remind you of a long road trip or a crowded festival where there always seemed to be space? Let us know, and be sure to like and subscribe for more gentle explorations into the curious corners of thought. Imagine an ordinary hotel with 10 rooms. When every room is full, you might think there's no space for another guest. But Hilbert's Hotel has not 10, but infinitely many rooms, numbered 1, 2, 3, and so on forever. The manager greets the 11th guest by asking each current guest in room N to move to room N plus 1. Suddenly room 1 is free. A simple shift, yet it creates space where you thought there was none. Now imagine a new group of 10 guests arrives. The manager asks everyone in room N to move to room N plus 10, opening rooms 1 through 10 for the newcomers. In everyday life, we'd call this chaos, but in the Hotel of Infinity, it's just a gentle rule that keeps the rooms endlessly available. Think of it in simpler terms. Picture a line of chairs for students waiting to take an exam. The line stretches out forever, and every chair is occupied. A new student arrives and needs a seat, so the teacher asks each student in chair number, and to move one chair down to N plus 1, that single shift makes room at chair number 1 for the new student. Everyone's seat changes, but no one is left standing. It feels strange. Why does adding one more person require everyone else to stand up and shuffle? Yet in this infinite line, movement is the soft key to welcoming more guests. This paradox touches deep ideas of how we think about space and size. In our everyday world, fullness is final. A bus has a set number of seats. Once they're gone, we stand. But the infinite bus, like Hilbert's Hotel, defies our usual sense of running out. It teaches us that infinity is not a number, but a concept, a never-ending journey, rather than a final count. When you look up at a starry sky, you might feel small, yet aware of limitless space. Hilbert's Hotel captures that feeling in a cozy, human way. No matter how many arrive, there is always room. This gentle mind-bender also touches the theme of belief. If someone tells you, there's always room for one more, you might nod politely, thinking they mean there's emotional space, an open heart. But in Hilbert's Hotel, it's literal space, rooms that stretch on forever. We learn that words like infinite carry both poetic comfort and precise, surprising meaning. Language itself becomes a bridge from our daily world to a landscape of endless possibility, reminding us that belief in our hearts can echo strange truths in our minds. In relationships, Hilbert's Hotel offers a tender lesson. Imagine welcoming a new friend into your circle. No matter how busy life feels, you find a way to make time. The infinite rooms remind us that generosity of heart mirrors generosity of space. Even when schedules are full, we somehow carve out moments for someone special. The math trick becomes a warm metaphor for kindness and openness, teaching us that shifting priorities can create a place for others. Think, too, about mental health. When feelings crowd in, worries, fears, doubts, you might feel there's no room for peace. But like the hotel manager, you can gently shift your thoughts, making space in your mind for calm. Moving each worry aside just a little can open room for rest. This simple shift in perspective helps you see that even crowded feelings can be rearranged to invite relief. In a world that often demands more, the paradox of Hilbert's Hotel reminds us that a small change in how we arrange things can open unexpected spaces for comfort. Even artificial intelligence can learn from this paradox. AI systems often think in fixed limits: storage caps, processing power, lines of code. but future machines might handle infinite streams of data by gently shifting existing information, much like moving guests down the hall. This mathematical idea nudges us to imagine how technology could mirror the flexibility of infinite space, building systems that adapt gracefully to growing demands. It points to a future where our creations echo the generosity of infinity, always. Ready for one more piece of data, one more user, one more idea. So as you drift into the rest of this 3-hour journey of mathematical wonders, let Hilbert's Hotel be your first stop. Picture the endless hallway, the polite manager, the gentle shuffling of guests, an imagined space where fullness has no final meaning. Let this calm story remind you that in the mind, as in the universe, there is always room for surprise, for new thoughts, and for peaceful wonder. If this paradox gave you that warm, surprising spark, please leave a comment telling us where you were and how you felt. Did it make you think of a crowded place that somehow never felt too busy? Like this video, share it with someone who loves gentle mind trips, and subscribe for more relaxing dives into life's quiet mysteries. Thank you for joining me in this infinite inn. Now let's settle in for the next paradox, drifting deeper into calm, curious sleep. Banach, Tarski. Imagine holding a ball in your hands. You cut it into a few pieces, not with a knife, but in a way so strange you can't even see the cuts. Then, without adding anything at all, you resemble those pieces into 2 balls, each exactly the same size as the first. No shrinking, no stretching, just duplication from nowhere. It sounds like magic, or maybe even a dream. But this idea, known as the Banach-Tarski paradox, is not fiction. It's a real result from the world of mathematics. If that made your mind pause for a moment, share where you're watching from. Have you ever had a moment where something felt real, but made no sense? Maybe a dream that stayed with you, or a thought that didn't quite fit. Let's build a calm and curious space together. And if you're enjoying these peaceful journeys into the impossible, like this video, leave a comment and subscribe for more quiet wonders. Now, let's explore this mysterious idea. The Banach-Tarski paradox begins with a simple shape, a perfect ball, like a smooth orange or a clean snow globe. In normal life, if you cut an orange into 8 slices and try to make 2 full oranges, you'll just have pieces of 1. But in this mathematical story, things are different. The ball is split into 5 pieces using pure geometry. No glue, no extra volume. These pieces are so strange, they cannot exist in our physical world. They're not like puzzle pieces you can touch. They don't have normal shapes. They are made using very unusual rules, created by logic, not by scissors. Then somehow using just rotation and movement, nothing more, you put these pieces back together. And now there are 2 balls, each just like the first. Think about rearranging books on a shelf. If you have 5 books and move them around, you still only have 5 books. But in Banach-Tarski, after rearranging, it's as if you now have 10 books. It feels like a trick. But this isn't about making things bigger. It's about how infinity hides inside space. The trick only works because of how numbers behave when they deal with things that go on forever. It's a gentle reminder that what we see is not always all there is. Let's bring this into something closer to home. Imagine you're making dough for bread. You roll it into a ball, cut it in pieces, and try to shape 2 equal balls. In the real kitchen, this won't work. You'd only get 2 smaller balls. But in the Banach-Tarski world, the dough isn't like real dough. It doesn't behave with normal rules. Each tiny piece carries some strange power. In fact, the pieces are so complex, they don't even have volume. That means they don't really take up space in the way flour or air does. Yet somehow, when you move them in just the right way, you get twice as much as you started with. This thought can be both beautiful and confusing. It teaches us that logic doesn't always feel logical. Sometimes what's true on paper doesn't fit in the palm of your hand. That gap between thought and touch is part of what makes the Banach-Tarski paradox so powerful. It's a soft window into the mystery of how we understand the world, reminding us that not all truths are easy to feel. this paradox also invites us to think about belief. We live in a world where we believe our senses. If we see one apple, we trust there is one apple. But Banach Tarski asks, what if numbers don't always match what we see? What if, under the surface of space, things are less solid than they appear? It's a gentle tug at our ideas of reality, and sometimes, when we're quiet, these soft thoughts open space in the mind to let new understanding grow. In relationships, this paradox speaks in whispers. Sometimes you give a part of yourself, your time, your energy, and still feel whole. You support a friend, and yet somehow your strength is not less, but more. The Banach Tarski idea of doubling without loss mirrors how kindness can expand. It shows us that giving and being whole are not always in conflict. That in the quiet math of the heart, sharing does not mean shrinking. And when we think about mental health, this paradox offers a calm kind of hope. In moments of deep stress, we often feel there's no more of us to give. But sometimes a shift in how we arrange our thoughts, just like the pieces of the sphere, can help us find something new inside. A second wind, a fresh breath, a surprising strength. This isn't about forcing yourself to be more. It's about seeing how much is already within you, waiting to be reshaped gently, patiently, with care. Even in artificial intelligence, there's a lesson here. Machines are built from logic, from patterns. But Banach Tarski shows that even pure logic has its mysteries. AI systems might one day use similar ideas to organize data in ways we can't. Imagine replicating structures or solving problems using unfamiliar methods. The paradox is a quiet nudge that even the smartest programs may discover truths that don't feel intuitive to us at first. It reminds us that growth often begins with confusion, and that understanding takes time. So how is this possible? How? Can one ball become two without breaking any rules? The answer lies deep in set theory, a branch of math that deals with infinity and the strange ways it behaves. The Banach-Tarski paradox relies on a rule called the axiom of choice. This rule allows you to pick points from a space in a way that's impossible to do in real life, but completely valid in the world of numbers. It's like being allowed to choose one grain of sand from each beach in the world, all at once, without ever walking on the sand. It's not practical, but it's allowed in the language of logic. The pieces created in the paradox aren't just small, they're undefinable. You couldn't ever draw them or describe their shapes. That's why you can't perform this trick with real balls or physical objects. It's a mental story, a story told by math, not matter. But even so, the story teaches us something gentle and important. That our world, as solid as it feels, is shaped by invisible rules. Some of those rules are calm and kind. Others are strange and surprising. All of them invite us to wonder. So tonight, as you let your mind rest, carry this image with you. A perfect ball, silent and smooth, gently split into 5 invisible shapes. Each one drifts softly, turns, shifts. And when they come back together, there are 2. It's quiet, no fireworks, no noise, just the silent joy of something unexpected, made real by thought. If this story brought a moment of peace or wonder to your day, let us know in the comments. Tell us where you're listening from or what this paradox made you think about. And if you'd like more calm journeys into the strange and beautiful corners of the mind, please like this video and subscribe. Thank you for joining this quiet path through Banach Tarski. Now, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you like, and let's continue this journey into the next gentle paradox together. Gabriel's horn. Imagine a cup that can be filled with paint, but you could never paint its surface. You could fill it completely, all the way to the top, but no matter how much time or effort you give, you'd never be able to coat the outside of it, not even with the thinnest layer of color. That's the kind of shape we're about to explore. It's called Gabriel's horn, and it holds a secret that feels both gentle and impossible. If you've ever had a moment where something in your life felt endless but still full, like emotions during a long night or thoughts that never seem to stop, this story may speak to you. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, or if you've ever felt something that seemed to go on forever but still felt small somehow. And if these quiet, strange truths bring calm to your day, please like the video and subscribe so we can continue these peaceful journeys together. Let's begin with a simple idea. Gabriel's horn is a shape created by math, not by metal or air. Picture a long trumpet, stretching endlessly into the distance. But instead of it being wide at the end, it's wide at the front and keeps getting narrower and narrower as it goes on. It never truly ends. It just becomes thinner and thinner forever. That's already a bit strange. But here's where it becomes truly puzzling. This trumpet has a finite volume. That means you could fill it with water or honey or even sand, and it would hold a specific amount, something you could measure. But if you tried to paint the outside of this shape, no matter how long you tried, you'd never finish. Its surface area is infinite. This idea feels like a soft contradiction, a shape that ends yet doesn't. One part that can be completed, and another that never can. It's like a task where you can finish what's inside, but the outside keeps going forever. That can feel strangely familiar, like when you feel you've calmed your thoughts, but something in the world keeps buzzing, or when you finish all your responsibilities for the day, yet there's still a quiet pressure lingering around you. The inside is done. The outside is not. Let's look at this in simpler terms. Think about an ice cream cone. If the cone were shaped like Gabriel's horn, you could pour chocolate sauce inside and it would eventually fill up. But if you tried to dip the whole thing in chocolate to coat the outside, you'd never stop dipping. You'd run out of chocolate. You'd run out of time. Even though the cone holds a fixed amount inside, its surface, its skin, would be too big to cover. Now take that idea and apply it to daily life. Maybe you've experienced a relationship where you gave all your care and attention, and it felt full, complete. But somehow, on the outside, there were still needs, still gaps, still more to reach for. Or maybe you've studied for an exam, and your notes are perfect, your thoughts in place. Yet outside that space of preparation, the pressure never seems to stop. Gabriel's horn reminds us that some things are enough on the inside, even when the outside keeps stretching endlessly. It also touches something quiet inside us. The idea that we are always growing, learning, reaching, that there's a part of the mind that will never quite feel finished. You might feel full of emotions, memories, dreams, but the world keeps inviting more experiences, more connections, more understanding. It's not a failure that we can't cover it all. It's a quiet reminder that being human means being open to infinity, even in small, everyday ways. In mental health, this paradox whispers something gentle. Often we focus on fixing everything, solving every worry, healing every crack. But Gabriel's horn tells us it's okay if we never reach every edge. It's okay to feel complete inside, even when life around us feels too big to handle. You don't have to paint every surface to feel at peace. Sometimes holding what's inside with care is enough. The rest can stretch out gently, without demand. Even in language, we see something similar. Have you ever tried to explain your thoughts but found words too small? You might feel the idea clearly inside, but as you speak, it slips away. But the shiwai volume is clear, but the surface is too much. Gabriel's horn lives in that space between what's felt and what's said. It's in poetry that doesn't need to explain everything. In the quiet moments between words, it helps us understand that not everything needs to be fully covered to be true. Artificial intelligence also dances near this idea. AI learns from data, huge amounts of information. And just like Gabriel's horn, it can fill its system with understanding. But the surface, the total picture of human life, is too large to paint fully. The technology may grow and evolve, but the world it learns from keeps stretching outward. That's not a flaw. It's a feature. It shows us that some things are meant to remain open, mysterious, full of wonder. This paradox also speaks to the feeling of time. Some days feel endless, but are really small in number. A long night of thinking, a long car ride, a period of grief. The hours pass slowly, stretching like the horn. Yet somehow, looking back, it feels like it was all held within. A short chapter, a finite space with an infinite surface. Emotions often feel that way. You can hold so much inside you, memories, hopes, fears, and still not be able to name or show it all. That's okay. You're not meant to cover every part. Just holding what's important is enough. So where does Gabriel's horn come from? It's built from a curve, a smooth bend called Uncountable. You rotate that curve around a line and it forms the horn. As the shape stretches out, the width shrinks quickly, so quickly that the amount it can hold inside stays limited. But the surface, because it keeps adding tiny bits as it stretches, grows without end. It's not something we can build or touch, but it's something we can imagine. A quiet shape, whispering a deep truth about limits and endlessness. Tonight, as you settle into rest, let the shape of Gabriel's horn soften your thoughts. Picture a gentle curve, opening wide, then narrowing quietly as it reaches into the distance. It holds what it needs, it accepts what it can, and yet, it welcomes the infinite, without fear. You don't have to reach every edge, you don't have to explain every part of yourself. There is peace in being full inside, even when the world keeps going. If this paradox brought a moment of stillness to your day, tell us in the comments. Share your story, or just let us know where you're listening from. And if you'd like to join us again for more calming thoughts that make you wonder gently, please like the video and subscribe. Thank you for sharing this time with us. Let's now move forward, softly, into the next quiet idea together, Zeno's flight. Have you ever stood at the edge of a dream and wondered why it feels just out of reach? Like you're moving toward it, step by step, but never quite arriving? Imagine trying to reach the sky. You begin with a bold step, then half of that, then half of that again, and so on. Each move brings you closer, but somehow, you never quite get there. That's the quiet mystery behind Zeno's flight. A thought experiment that says before reaching any destination, you must first get halfway, then halfway again, and again, forever having. The closer you get, the more there is to go. It's a soft, strange puzzle that feels oddly familiar in real life. Let us know if you've ever felt that way. On a journey, in a relationship, or even during a long night where sleep feels near but never arrives. And if you enjoy these quiet, thoughtful explorations, please like this video and subscribe. It helps us bring more calm and curiosity to your world. Now, imagine this scene. A bird takes off from the ground. It wants to fly to the sky. To get there, it first must fly halfway up. From that point, it needs to go half the remaining distance, then again, half of what's left. Every time it moves, it makes progress, but each step is only part of the whole. Smaller and smaller, always approaching, never arriving. This is the heart of Zeno's paradox. It tells us that even though we feel motion, even though we move forward, there is a part of reality, if you break it down far enough, that seems to say motion is impossible, because you can never finish going halfway. Of course, in the real world, birds do fly. People do reach places. Dreams do come true. But what Zeno gives us isn't about stopping us. It's about helping us look deeper. He invites us to pause and reflect on how we experience progress, distance, and time. Sometimes when you're going through something, preparing for an exam, working toward a goal, healing from a heartbreak, it can feel like you're always getting closer, but never done. Always halfway. Always almost there. Let's take something simple. Imagine walking across a room. You start from the door, heading to the window. According to Zeno, before you reach the window, you must first get halfway, then halfway again, then halfway again. That sounds impossible, doesn't it? An infinite number of steps, and yet you somehow cross the room every day without thinking. It's not a problem of the body, it's a puzzle of the mind, a reminder that our thoughts about time and distance are not always what they seem. Now think of this in terms of emotions. When you're healing from something painful, maybe a friendship that changed or a time you felt lost. It often happens in layers. You make progress, then it slows. You feel strong, then it fades. Each stage feels like a step, and yet full. Healing always feels just a little further. Zeno's flight whispers that it's okay to be in motion without needing to rush, that even if you're moving in smaller and smaller steps, you're still going forward. This paradox also appears in learning. When we start something new, progress feels fast. Like the first half is easy, but the more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. Each step forward reveals another half still waiting. Whether you're studying science, music, or even learning to understand yourself, it's a journey of endless halves. But each half holds meaning. Each one brings depth. Even language itself follows this pattern. You may start to express a feeling with one word, then you add a sentence, then a story. But somehow, the more you explain, the more there is left to say. You get closer to the truth, but you never fully reach it. There's always more between the words, just like there's always more space between 2 points. This doesn't mean we should stop speaking. It means we should speak gently, knowing that some parts of truth are found in the journey, not just the ending. In mental health, Zeno's idea speaks softly to the feeling of always trying but never finishing. If you've ever struggled with anxiety or overthinking, you might recognize this motion, the sense of getting better, but then wondering if you're really okay. Feeling calm, then unsure. It's easy to feel like healing should be a straight line, but sometimes it's a series of halves, each one bringing you closer to peace, even if it doesn't feel like a full arrival. Now let's look at how this touches technology, especially artificial intelligence. When we train machines to understand language or recognize patterns, we do it step by step. First, we teach basic rules, then more complex patterns. Each layer of learning brings the AI closer to understanding. But the full truth of human experience, emotion, and thought remains just beyond the final step. The machine keeps learning, improving, getting closer, but never quite reaches the complete picture. That's not failure. That's the beauty of the journey. Even endless steps have meaning. Zeno's flight can also reflect the quiet push many of us feel inside, the desire to become better, whether it's self-improvement, physical health, or trying to be kinder or more focused. You take one step, then another, yet it can still feel like you're not enough. That's the trap of this paradox. It tricks us into thinking we must reach the end, when in truth, the motion itself is what matters. It's not about completing the journey. It's about continuing it with grace. And so if today you feel like you're trying hard but not getting there, pause. Breathe. You are moving forward even if the steps are small, even if the goal feels distant. Just like the bird flying upward, you are in motion. And sometimes, motion itself is enough. The paradox shows us that what feels impossible is often just misunderstood, that reaching the sky isn't about finishing the journey in one perfect flight, but about continuing to rise, gently, forever upward. So tonight, as your thoughts begin to slow, let this idea float softly in your mind. You do not need to arrive to be worthy. You do not need to finish to be whole. Zeno's flight is a reminder that every small step matters, that progress can be infinite but still beautiful, and that you are allowed to keep going even if you never reach the final point, because the journey itself is the purpose. If this story helped you feel a little more calm, a little more understood, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear where you're watching from or what this made you think about. And if these quiet thoughts bring peace to your day, please like the video and subscribe. Thank you for being here with us. Let's take the next gentle step together. Euler's identity. Have you ever found beauty in something you didn't fully understand? Like a painting that moved you, or a song that made you feel something without knowing why? What if I told you that some people feel that same way about a single equation, just a short line of symbols, but one that brings together the most important numbers in all of mathematics? It's called Euler's identity, and it has been called the most beautiful equation in the world, not because of what it does, but because of what it means. If that surprises you, you're not alone. Many people feel it the same way we feel a quiet moment of peace, even if we don't know how to explain it. If this kind of mystery speaks to you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever found peace in something strange or unexpected? And if you enjoy calm, thoughtful journeys like this one, please like this video and subscribe. It helps us keep sharing these stories with you. Now let's imagine something simple. You're sitting outside in the evening watching the stars. The air is still. Time feels slow. In that moment, everything seems to come together. The day you had, the thoughts you're holding, the feeling of being part of something bigger. Euler's identity is like that moment. It's when different things, very different things, suddenly unite. Things that don't usually go together, like quiet and noise, or stillness and time. This one equation connects 5 of the most basic in numbers and math, and somehow, when they meet, they create something that feels like magic. The equation looks like this: E sa ip plus 1 is 1, ha sa 0. It only takes a second to write, but behind it is a story of balance, opposites, and unity. A story that reminds us some things, no matter how different, can still belong together. Let's look at those 5 parts. First, there's the number 0, the idea of nothing. A symbol of emptiness, but also of beginning. Then there's 1, the symbol of something, the first building block. Add 0 and 1, and you move from nothing to something, from silence to sound. Next is P, the number that shows up in circles. It connects to how we measure the world around us, from the shape of planets to the rhythm of time. Then we have E, a number that shows up in growth and decay, like how plants grow or how time passes. And finally, there's I, the square root of -1, a number that seems impossible. It doesn't exist in the everyday world, but we use it to describe things we can't see, like waves or electricity. So here we have 5 symbols: 0, 1, a circle, a process, and something imaginary. And somehow when they come together, they make perfect sense, like a puzzle that clicks quietly into place. In life, we often feel like we're made of opposites: strength and weakness, joy and sadness, logic and imagination. It can be hard to make peace with all those parts, but Euler's identity reminds us sometimes opposites don't cancel each other out. They complete each other, just like this equation. To understand why this is so special, you don't need to be a mathematician. Just think of it like this. Imagine meeting 5 people from completely different backgrounds. They speak different languages, they've lived different lives, but somehow, when they sit down together, they understand each other. There's no fight, no confusion, just a quiet agreement that says, we belong together. That's the feeling many people get when they see Euler's identity for the first time. It also tells us something bigger. That truth doesn't always come from one place. Sometimes it comes when we step back and let the pieces fit together. Like when we're trying to solve a problem, not just a math problem, but something in real life. Maybe a tough decision, or a feeling we don't understand. Often, the answer doesn't come from one idea alone. It comes when we let many ideas meet, when we allow logic and emotion, the known and the unknown. Euler's identity is also a gentle reminder of how time moves. The number E shows up when things grow. The number P shows up when things repeat. And it reminds us that not everything is visible. When these 3 dance together in the equation, they remind us that time is not just ticking seconds. It's waves, it's changed, it's the quiet unfolding of life. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always moving. This also touches how we think about technology. In artificial intelligence, machines learn by connecting patterns, numbers, symbols, weights. Behind the scenes, even something like Euler's identity can help build the systems that help AI understand us. It's strange, isn't it, that tiny piece of math, written centuries ago, now helps power machines that learn, speak, and adapt in our lives today. It's another reminder that knowledge doesn't fade, it ripples. In mental health, this equation speaks quietly to the idea of wholeness, that even when we feel like we're made of separate parts, our past, our hopes, our fears, they can still work together, like 0 and 1, like real and imaginary, like logic and mystery. We don't have to erase the confusing parts of ourselves. Sometimes beauty comes when we allow all the pieces to exist. Even in relationships, we can see this pattern. Two people may be different. They may think in opposite ways, but if they respect each other, if they listen, something powerful can form. A bond that isn't based on sameness, but on understanding, like the numbers in Euler's identity. They don't match, but together they make something complete. This paradox, the harmony of opposites, can also appear in moments of reflection. Think about how some of your hardest times led to growth, or how silence can teach more than noise, how being alone can lead to connection. These aren't just ideas, they're patterns that live in math and also in you. And that's why Euler's identity isn't just for mathematicians. It's for anyone who has ever felt like a mix of thoughts, for anyone trying to find balance, for anyone looking for meaning in the space between certainty and wonder. So tonight, as your eyes start to rest and your breath softens, let this thought settle in. 5 different things, 0, 1, growth, circle, and mystery come together, without conflict, and form something perfect. You don't need to fully understand it to feel its calm. Just like you don't need to explain every part of yourself to be whole. You are allowed to hold opposites. You are allowed to be complete in your own quiet way. And if this journey into a small piece of mathematical wonder gave you a sense of calm or sparked a quiet thought, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments or let us know where in the world you're listening from. And if you'd like to keep exploring these gentle mysteries with us, please like this video and subscribe. There's more beauty waiting, sometimes in the most unexpected places. Berry Paradox. Have you ever felt stuck choosing the perfect words to describe something that seems just out of reach? Imagine sitting by a window on a rainy afternoon, trying to find the simplest way to name the biggest cloud in the sky, only to realize your own words chase after each other and slip away. That feeling of chasing words but never quite catching them is at the heart of the Berry Paradox. It sounds mysterious, but it touches something we all know. Language shapes our world, and sometimes it trips up on itself. Before we dive in, if you're watching from somewhere cozy, maybe a bedroom, a living room, or even a quiet park, let me know in the comments where this story finds you today. And if you enjoy these gentle explorations of mind and meaning, please tap like, share your thoughts below, and feel free to subscribe for more relaxed journeys into ideas that bend and twist the way we think. At first glance, the Berry Paradox seems like a riddle in a dusty logic book. It asks, what is the smallest number not nameable in 2 words? You might think, that's easy. What about 100 or 999? But each time you think you've found a suitable phrase, that phrase itself names the number you're trying to avoid. Suddenly the act of naming creates the very thing you said shouldn't exist. It's like defining a secret so well that the moment you try to hide it, you actually reveal it more clearly. To make it feel more natural, let's look at an everyday example. Imagine you're in school, working on an exam. Your teacher asks you to write the shortest sentence that cannot be written in 2 words. You write, I pass. 2 words, simple enough, but then you realize that I pass names itself. You have just written it in 2 words. So it's no longer the shortest sentence that can't be written in 2 words. You try again. You try. You write it, and suddenly it's named in 2 words. You see the loop. The sentence is about itself, and that makes the puzzle spin in circles. Or picture planning a trip with a friend. You message them, let's go. 2 words, right? But if the goal was to find a message that isn't only 2 words, let's go fails. Because that message is itself in 2 words. You feel the same odd tug. The language you choose locks you into the very limit you try to escape. That everyday catch When simple phrases collapse on themselves, hints at something much wider. Our language can shape our thinking, but it can also trip us into strange loops. This paradox shows up whenever we try to define things precisely. In the world of weather reporting, for instance, meteorologists love to give exact numbers: wind speed, humidity, pressure. But what happens when someone asks for the simplest way to say it's windy, but not too windy? If you answer just a breeze, you've used two words. But if just a breeze is truly the simplest phrase, then it names itself in two words, and the hunt for simplicity starts again. The moment we try to capture a thought in exact words, we risk looping into abstraction and back again. At an even deeper level, the Berry paradox touches on belief and understanding. When you read a poem that names the feeling of loneliness, in 100 ways you might ask, is there a way to name loneliness simply, in just one word? If you find it, that word becomes the simplest expression. But then, by naming it, haven't you made it less lonely? There's a strange magic. Words that try to contain our feelings can also free them, yet that freedom might break the very simplicity you aimed for. This loop between our words and their meaning is not just a brain teaser. It has echoes in mental health. Therapists sometimes help people name their feelings. I feel anxious. I feel hopeful. Naming emotions can bring relief, a way to step back and observe. But if someone says, I feel calmer, and that phrase itself makes them calmer, then the act of naming becomes part of the cure. The Berry paradox reminds us that naming something can change it, sometimes in a gentle healing way, and other times in a confusing circular one. Language also shapes how we build and train artificial intelligence. When developers write code to teach a machine what bird means, they feed it countless images and definitions. But if the code itself contains a description like the simplest way to say what a bird is, and the machine learns that definition, it can get stuck in loops. The AI might generate its own descriptions of bird that refer back to the phrase, the simplest way to say what a bird is, never reaching new ground. This self-reference can cause errors or endless chatter, similar to how our minds might circle around thoughts that refer to themselves. Yet, despite the loops and the tension, the Berry paradox is also a gentle reminder of how playful and creative language can be. Think back to childhood games where you try to say a tongue twister faster and faster. At some point, your tongue trips and you laugh. The paradox is a tongue twister for the mind, a puzzle that makes you smile at the clever twist of self-reference. It shows how words can be both clear and elusive, solid and slippery, all at once. As we sit with this idea, notice how your own mind shifts. Maybe you feel a small smile of wonder, or perhaps a flutter of curiosity about the next twist of language you'll meet. That's the gift of these paradoxes. They awaken a gentle sense of awe at how our simple everyday tools, words, carry so much power. They can name stars, feelings, ideas, and yet when we look too closely, they can slip through our fingers. Before we wander deeper, take a moment to breathe. If you're cozy in your favorite chair, feel the weight of your body settling. Notice the rhythm of your breath. In and out. In and out. Let the soft quiet of this moment be your companion as we explore further. The Berry paradox may sound abstract, but at its heart, it invites us to reflect on how we use language in our lives. When you talk with a friend about hopes or fears, you choose words that feel just right. Sometimes the perfect phrase seems to dance away, too simple to hold the depth of your feeling. Other times, a simple phrase captures everything you feel, and in naming it, you feel understood. In relationships, we often say, I love you in 3 words that carry the weight of a universe. Yet, those 3 words are simple, and they name a feeling we can't fully explain. The Berry paradox whispers, every time you call something by name, you change it. If you whisper, I love you softly, it might feel different than if you shout it in the rain. The context, the intention, and even the way you phrase it shape what it means. And in daily life, you might ask yourself, what is the simplest way to describe my day? You might say, it's fine, 2 words. But It's fine might feel too small for a day full of subtle moments, or you might say, I'm okay, and find that phrase too heavy or too light. The paradox shows how the words we use can never fully pin down the rich tapestry of our experience, and yet we keep trying. As we drift toward the close of this thought, consider the gift of this paradox. It reminds us that language is alive. It dances between clarity and mystery, between definition and surprise. We can play with it, name the unnameable, and in the process, learn more about ourselves and our world. If this journey has stirred something, a question, a memory, a warm smile, share it in the comments. Let's build a community of curious minds, gentle hearts, and open ears. If you enjoyed this peaceful dive into language and paradox, please like this video and subscribe to join us for more soft whispers of wonder. Until next time, may your words find you as much as you find them, and may you rest in the sweet space between naming and knowing. Russell's set. Have you ever looked in a mirror and wondered if the mirror could look back at you? Picture standing in front of that mirror asking yourself, do I contain myself? That strange, almost dreamy question is the heart of Russell's set, a puzzle that feels like a cozy riddle whispered in a quiet room. Before we explore this curious idea, I'd love to know where you are watching from right now. Maybe you're curled up on your sofa, sitting at a cafe table, or nestled under a blanket in your bedroom. Share your spot in the comments below, and if you enjoyed drifting into these calm, thoughtful stories, please tap like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more peaceful journeys into the wonders of the mind. Imagine you have a list, a simple list, of all the boxes that do not contain themselves. You place a small sign on each box saying, "This box does not contain itself." And then each time you find such a box, it goes on the list. If a box contains another box, it's not on your list. If it doesn't contain itself, it goes on your list. Easy enough, right? But then comes the twist. What about the list itself? Does the list contain itself or not? If the list says it doesn't contain itself, then by its own rule it should go on the list. But if it goes on the list, then it does contain itself, so it should not go on the list. Suddenly, simple rules turn into a gentle loop that circles back on itself. Let's bring this idea into a more familiar place. Think of your email inbox. Suppose you decide to filter and label every email that does not come from yourself. Each email from someone else gets tagged "not from me." Now, what happens if you send an email to yourself? It's from you, so you wouldn't tag it. But what about the tag itself? If you label the tag "not from me," then it contradicts its own rule. This everyday task, email filtering, becomes a small echo of Russell's paradox, where the rule and the thing you're applying it to start to tangle in a gentle, surprising knot. Or picture a bookshelf where you place only the books that do not mention themselves in their titles. A novel called My Own Story would not go on your shelf because it names itself. A book titled The Sky Above belongs on the shelf. But what about a catalog of all the books not on the shelf? If that catalog lists itself, it names itself and thus shouldn't be there. If it doesn't list itself, then it belongs. The bookshelf and catalog become partners in a quiet dance of inclusion and exclusion, echoing Russell's puzzle with every turn of the page. This paradox reaches beyond playful lists and shelves. It nudges at the borders of our beliefs about sets, collections of things, and how we think about them. In math, a set is just a group of things, like all red apples or all your favorite songs. But when we allow sets to refer to themselves, like a set that contains sets, things can start to wobble. Russell discovered this in the early 1900s, and it shook the world of mathematics. It showed that our simple, everyday idea of grouping things can lead to loops that break the rules we thought were safe. At an even deeper level, Russell's set touches on how we think about ourselves and our place in the world. We often make lists of people like me or places I belong. But what happens when you try to include yourself in a list of people who do not include themselves? Or when you label a feeling that you say you do not feel? The moment we turn our attention back on ourselves, the mirror shimmers, and we see reflection within reflection. This quiet reflection can be both comforting and unsettling, reminding us how our self-image and our words shape each other. In the space of mental health, therapists sometimes ask people to list thoughts that do not define them. You might write down, "I am not my anxiety," or "I do not hold my fears alone." Each statement helps you step outside a feeling and see it more clearly. But if you write, "I am not my anxiety" on a note labeled, "Thoughts that do not define me," the act of writing it could make you see anxiety differently, maybe even make it part of the story you tell yourself. Here, the paradox whispers that our attempts to separate ourselves from our thoughts can gently loop back and become part of the process of healing. And in the world of artificial intelligence, Russell's paradox has real echoes. When engineers build systems that classify objects, they teach machines to recognize cats, dogs, or chairs. But if a system starts to classify its own categories, this is a list of categories that do not include themselves, it can run into loops that confuse the machine. It might endlessly ask, "Do I sort myself under not me or under me?" Such self-reference can stall a program, showing how the puzzle of Russell's set is not just a thought experiment, but a real challenge in computer design. Despite its mind-bending twist, Russell's paradox also carries a gentle wonder. It invites us to play with ideas and see the soft edges where logic meets surprise. It shows that something as simple as includes or does not include can become a loop, a dance that never quite settles. It reminds us that our tools, language, lists, sets, categories are powerful and alive, and that they sometimes escape our grasp when we look too closely. As you sit here listening, feel the calm of this question. Notice how your mind might circle the idea of inclusion and exclusion, of self and not self. There's no rush to solve the paradox. Instead, let it be a companion, a gentle puzzle to carry with you. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Let each breath be an invitation to rest in the quiet wonder of thought. In our relationships, we often face a similar twist. We might say, "I do not judge you," to reassure a friend. But the very act of saying it can feel like a hidden judgment. If you have to say it, have you already judged? The paradox shows us that language can both free us and trap us, that our words can illuminate and also shadow our intent. It encourages us to speak with kindness, but also with humility, knowing that words carry more life than we sometimes expect. Before we drift further, take another deep breath. Feel the soft rhythm of your breath. Let the quiet settle around you. If this gentle journey into the world of sets and self-reference warmed your mind, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe to keep exploring these soft mysteries with me. Share where you experienced this story, your favorite reading nook, a peaceful park bench, or perhaps under a starlit sky. As we return from this reflection, remember that Russell's set is more than a math puzzle. It's a mirror held up to our minds, showing how inclusion and exclusion, self and other, can circle us in a dance of thought. It invites us to be curious, to speak with calm care, and to embrace the mystery that lives in our words. Until next time, may your thoughts find gentle rest, and may your words always carry the wonder you feel inside. Gabriel's curve. What if I told you that adding together an endless stream of tiny numbers, fractions so small they seem to vanish, could somehow equal something as beautiful and unexpected as p squared divided by 6? It feels like magic, like finding a perfect note in a song made from whispers. Numbers, usually sharp and cold, suddenly begin to sing, and behind this song is something known as Gabriel's curve. But don't worry, you don't need to be a mathematician to feel its wonder. You just need curiosity and a moment of calm. Before we begin, I'd love to hear where you are right now. Are you listening from your bed? Maybe watching the rain slide down the window? Or are you stretched out under a tree, letting the breeze carry your thoughts? Tell me in the comments, and if this soft journey into the strange and beautiful world of ideas speaks to you, Please like the video, leave a kind word, and subscribe for more quiet stories to fall asleep to. Let's start small. Very small. Imagine the number 1. Then take the square of it. 1 times 1 is still 1. Now flip it. 1 divided by 1 is still 1. So that's our first number, 1. Now take 2, square it. 2 times 2 is 4. Flip that. 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. Then 3 squares is 9, and 1 over 9 is a little more than 0.11. As the numbers get bigger, the fractions get smaller. 1 over 100 is only 0.01. Keep going. 1 over 10,000 is even smaller. These pieces shrink fast, like crumbs falling from a loaf of bread. But here's the puzzle. What happens when you add them all up? All the 1 over 1 squared, 1 over 2 squared, 1 over 3 squared, forever and ever? You might expect the sum to grow endlessly, or maybe to hover without settling. But in a moment that seems pulled from a dream, all these pieces, all these tiny numbers, add up to something exact and beautiful. P squared over 6. The same number we know from circles and orbits and the deep curves of the universe appears here, hidden inside an endless pile of fractions. It's like digging through sand and finding a perfect pearl. That surprise is what makes Gabriel's curve so quietly amazing. To bring it into real life, imagine doing chores. Each day you clean just a little bit, half as much as the day before. On Monday you clean 1 full room. On Tuesday you clean half a room. On Wednesday, a quarter. Soon you're cleaning only a corner, then just a shelf. It feels like you're doing less and less, yet you're still moving forward. Even though the work shrinks each day, it still adds up to something whole. That's how Gabriel's curve behaves. Tiny parts, growing gently, adding to something surprisingly full. Now think of learning something new. On your first day, everything feels big. You absorb so much. But by day 10, you're only picking up a small idea or two. Still, each bit matters. Even the smallest ideas build toward something large. Learning, like this curve, reminds us that progress isn't about doing huge things every day. It's about showing up, even with small steps. And sometimes, those small steps lead to a place that's not only complete, but unexpectedly beautiful. There's also a name some people use for this idea: the Basel problem. It's a soft mystery from centuries ago where mathematicians tried to figure out this sum, and for a long time they couldn't. Then one day it was solved, and out came p squared over 6. Just like that. No one expected a circle's number to appear here, but it did. A quiet link between lines and loops, between endless numbers and curved beauty. Gabriel's curve reminds us that we don't always see the full pattern right away. Sometimes, life feels random, like we're just picking up tiny moments, an unexpected smile, a few kind words, a little lesson learned. But then, one day, we look back and see how those tiny things added up. Just like those shrinking numbers, our moments build something larger than we expected. Maybe that's what makes this paradox feel so human. It's a soft whisper from the world, saying, keep going, even if it feels small. It also teaches us about patience. The curve doesn't rush. It doesn't try to impress by leaping ahead. It simply gathers, slowly and gently, one step at a time. And that's something we often forget in a world that pushes us to move fast. Gabriel's curve says, it's okay to go slow. It's okay to grow gently. That idea can be healing, especially when we feel overwhelmed or lost. Now think of language. Words, like numbers, can be tiny. A single hello, a quiet I'm here, a whispered thank you. Each word may feel small, but over time, they build connection. They create understanding. Just like the little pieces in Gabriel's curve, our words add up, shaping the world we live in. They may not seem like much on their own, but they become something real, something beautiful. Even in the world of artificial intelligence, we see something similar. A machine learns by taking in tiny pieces of information. Each bit might seem unimportant, just a single phrase, a single example, but over time these little parts create something smart, something that understands patterns and can even help tell stories like this one. Small things, when collected carefully, can become something much more. And what about emotion? Have you ever noticed how your feelings build slowly? You don't go from calm to heartbroken in an instant. There are hints, moments, glances, thoughts. They arrive like those little fractions, soft, almost invisible. But they add up. Joy is the same. It's not always one big moment. Sometimes it's the sum of small laughs, quiet sunsets, peaceful naps. The curve of your emotional life is slow and gentle, just like Gabriel's. Now imagine a curve that grows endlessly, curling outward, collecting more and more of these small parts. But even though it stretches forever, the space under that curve, the area, is not infinite. It's finite. It holds a measurable amount. That's another twist in the story of Gabriel's curve. Even something that grows without end can contain only so much. Just like us, we grow, we change, we stretch, but we're still human, still contained, still whole. Take a moment now, breathe in, let the thought settle. A stream of tiny numbers adding up to p squared over 6, a calm pattern hiding in what looks like chaos, something that stretches forever, but still makes sense. It's peaceful, isn't it? Like watching ripples on a lake and realizing they follow a rhythm you didn't see at first, but one that was always there. Before we say goodnight, I'd love to know, what small thing in your life recently brought you joy? Was it a warm drink, a kind message, a soft breeze? Share it with me. Let's collect our own tiny pieces and see what they build. And if this journey brought you a little peace, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more calm thoughts and curious wonders. Gabriel's curve shows us that beauty doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides in numbers that seem too small to matter. But when we listen closely, when we follow the soft rhythm, we find something deep and full and true. We find harmony where we never thought to look. So let this be your reminder. The small things matter. The slow steps count. And even quiet patterns can hold unexpected magic. Curry's paradox. Imagine someone tells you this: if what I'm saying right now is true, then you will become a billionaire tomorrow. It sounds strange, doesn't it? Like a joke or a trap. But what if you start thinking, well, if what they're saying is true, then maybe I really will become a billionaire. That's the strange world we're about to enter. A world where words can twist themselves in circles and somehow prove anything at all, even things that seem impossible. This is the curious space of Curry's paradox, and it all starts with one sentence that refers to itself. Before we explore this odd and quiet thought together, I'd love to know, where are you listening from tonight? Maybe you're tucked into bed, trying to let go of the day. Or maybe you're sitting by a window, letting the night breeze carry your thoughts. Share your moment in the comments, and if this story brings you a little wonder or peace, I'd be grateful if you'd like this video, leave a kind comment, and subscribe for more gentle journeys through fascinating ideas. Now, let's step into it slowly. Let's take a simple sentence. If this sentence is true, then I will win the lottery. At first, it just sounds odd, but the more you think about it, the more tangled it becomes. If the sentence is true, then what it says must happen. And what it says is that you win the lottery. So, if it's true, then it must be true, and you win the lottery? But nothing else is assumed here. No proof, no facts, just the sentence itself. And still, it leads to this wild conclusion. This is the quiet magic of Curry's paradox. To see how strange it is, imagine a school test. You write a sentence at the bottom of the page. If this sentence is true, then I get an A on this test. Now what's the teacher supposed to do? If they agree the sentence is true, then you must get an A. But giving you an A just because of one sentence feels wrong, doesn't it? Still, that's what the logic seems to say. It's a soft trick, but it hides a deep problem in how we deal with truth and meaning. Curry's paradox is like a hallway with mirrors on both sides. You walk forward, but the reflections stretch out forever. The sentence looks at itself. It reflects itself, and in doing so, it creates a loop that seems to escape all normal rules. It doesn't need outside help. It doesn't ask for evidence. It only uses itself. That's what makes it feel so slippery. And yet it's made from words that seem completely normal. This paradox also helps us think about how belief works. Sometimes we believe something just because we want it to be true. We repeat it to ourselves. We build a loop in our thoughts. If I believe I'll be okay, then I'll be okay. It sounds comforting, but belief isn't always enough by itself. Just like Curry's paradox, thoughts can turn inward and spin around themselves. And sometimes they create a kind of emotional trap, a feeling that something must be true because we said it enough times. It happens in relationships too. You might hear someone say, "If you really loved me, then you'd believe what I say." That sounds logical on the surface. But deep down, it's asking for agreement without proof. It pushes the other person into a corner. And if we're not careful, we can end up confusing emotion with logic. That's how Curry's paradox shows up in life, not just in math or language, but in how we speak, think, and connect. Even in everyday arguments, you might notice something like this. Someone says, "If I'm right, then I win this debate." But that doesn't really prove anything. It just makes the conversation feel closed, like there's no room to question or explore. That's why understanding this paradox gently opens the door to clearer thinking. It shows us the importance of asking where an idea comes from and whether it stands on more than just itself. In the world of artificial intelligence, this paradox raises even deeper questions. Imagine teaching a machine to tell the truth, but then the machine creates a sentence that refers to itself. It says, "If this sentence is true, then all answers are correct." The machine might start to believe it, but believing something doesn't make it real. And when self-referencing becomes too common, it becomes hard to separate logic from illusion. That's why people working on AI and logic have to think carefully about self-referencing statements, because they can break the system in quiet ways. Now think about how we use language. Most of the time it flows smoothly. We say what we mean. We listen and respond. But when language turns on itself, it can get confusing. Like saying, "This sentence is false." Or, "If this sentence is true, then cats can fly." Suddenly words don't follow the rules anymore. They float, loop, or trap themselves. And when that happens, it's like trying to build a bridge on water. Nothing stays firm. But that's also what makes Curry's paradox so beautiful. It reminds us that language, even when it's simple, can be filled with mystery. That even everyday words, when arranged a certain way, can lead us into strange and thoughtful places. And it gently warns us not to take logic for granted. Sometimes the simplest path leads us in circles. If you're someone who often gets caught in overthinking, playing the same thoughts again and again, this paradox might feel familiar. Your mind says, "If I worry enough, I'll find peace." But that thought feeds itself. It doesn't lead you out. It only leads you deeper in. And maybe that's where the lesson hides. Sometimes the way out is not to keep turning the same thought over, but to gently step away and look at it from the outside. To ask, is this thought standing on something real, or is it just balancing on itself? Before we close our eyes, tonight, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had a moment where your mind kept looping around an idea that sounded true, but didn't lead anywhere helpful? If so, share it softly in the comments. We're building a space here where strange ideas meet gentle understanding. And if this quiet journey brought you a moment of calm or curiosity, I'd be grateful if you'd like the video, leave a kind comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. Curry's paradox reminds us that not everything that sounds logical is really solid. Some ideas, like some dreams, are built from soft mirrors. They shimmer, but they don't always hold weight. And that's okay, because seeing those illusions helps us find what is steady, what is real, what is kind. So tonight, let this be your reminder. Not every idea needs to prove everything. Sometimes it's enough to rest, reflect, and gently let go of the loop. Skolem's paradox. What if someone told you that something too big to ever be counted can still fit inside a system where everything can be counted? It sounds like a riddle, or maybe even a mistake. But this strange idea is not only possible, it's a real puzzle in the world of logic and mathematics. It's called Skolem's paradox, and it quietly invites us to rethink what we believe about size, truth, and the way reality fits inside the models we use to understand it. Before we dive deeper into this gentle mystery, I'd love to know, where are you listening from right now? Are you curled up in your room after a long day? Maybe you're resting under the stars, letting your mind drift towards sleep. Wherever you are, you're part of this thoughtful moment. Feel free to share your space or your state of mind in the comments. And if you enjoy stories that open the door to deep ideas in calm and peaceful ways, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video, leave a kind comment, and subscribe for more. Now let's begin, slowly and simply. Imagine you're at a beach. You look out at the ocean, and it seems endless. The waves go on, far past the edge of what you can see. You know you could never count all the drops of water in that ocean. It's just too much. But now imagine someone brings you a model, a tiny sandbox version of the ocean. It fits on your table. It's small, neat, and numbered. And yet, somehow this tiny sandbox behaves in all the same ways the real ocean does. That's a little like what Skolem's paradox is pointing to. It begins with the idea of countable and uncountable. A countable set is something like the numbers 1, 2, 3, and so on. Even if it goes on forever, you can still list them one by one. But an uncountable set is different. It's like trying to list every single real number between 0 and 1. There are so many, they can't be counted, not even with infinity. That's what uncountable means. So full, so dense, that you can't line them up, not even in theory. In mathematics, there are certain sets, like the real numbers, that are known to be uncountable, and logic tells us they must exist. But here's the twist. A model of set theory, which describes these uncountable sets, can actually be countable itself. That's where the paradox lives. How can something that must contain uncountable sets be built from parts that can be counted? It's a quiet, soft contradiction, one that doesn't shout but gently pulls at the thread of logic. It's like saying, this book tells the story of something infinite, but the book only has a limited number of pages. How can it do that? How can it contain something bigger than itself? The model looks small, but the ideas inside it go beyond what seems possible. To understand this more clearly, let's return to something familiar: school. Imagine a math teacher explaining the concept of infinity. They draw it on the board. They talk about numbers that never end. You understand it. You nod along. But in the room there are only a few of you. Only a few pencils, papers, and minds. Yet the idea of infinity lives inside that small classroom. The size of the room doesn't limit the size of the idea. That's a little like Skolem's paradox. The model is small, but the truths it holds are large. Still, this can feel confusing. How can we trust logic if it tells us such strange things? Skolem's paradox teaches us that models are not the same as reality. They're ways of describing truth, not truth itself. Just like a map is not the city. It's a guide, a tool, and sometimes a small map can still describe a vast world. That doesn't mean the world is small, it just means the map is clever. This paradox also touches something deeper, something emotional. Sometimes in life, we feel like our thoughts are too big for our minds, like we're trying to hold oceans of feeling in a glass cup. Grief, love, hope, fear, they all feel uncountable. And yet, we carry them inside us. We move through the day with quiet waves of things too deep to name. Skolem's paradox reminds us that even the small can contain the infinite, that even a simple mind can hold a world of wonder. It's also important for how we think about language and understanding. In conversations, we often use small words to explain big feelings. I'm tired. I'm okay. I miss you. These short phrases can hide whole oceans behind them, and sometimes Someone hears those words and truly understands. They see the whole ocean, even if it came in a single sentence. That's how models work. They are smaller than what they describe, but they still carry meaning. In artificial intelligence and computing, Skolem's paradox raises questions about how machines model human thought. Can a limited system really hold the full depth of human emotion or consciousness? Machines are built from finite parts, from code that can be counted and listed. And yet, we expect them to understand things like music, memory, and sorrow. Are we building small models of something uncountable? And if so, do we really understand what we're building? This paradox doesn't give easy answers. It doesn't try to fix the confusion. Instead, it invites us to live gently with the mystery, to accept that some things can be true even if they feel impossible. That's part of what makes this such a comforting idea. We don't have to hold everything perfectly. We can let go just a little and trust that truth sometimes fits in ways we don't expect. As we come to the end of this quiet journey, I wonder, have you ever felt like something too big was somehow resting gently inside something small? Like a huge feeling, in a single moment, or a giant memory inside a single photograph? If so, I'd love for you to share it in the comments. You're not alone in wondering about these things. This space is for all of us, those who seek peace in puzzling ideas. And if this calm exploration brought you even a moment of comfort or curiosity, I'd be honored if you'd like the video, leave a kind comment, and subscribe for more. Skolem's paradox reminds us that the world is full of quiet surprises, that logic, like life, doesn't always move in straight lines, and that sometimes something uncountable can rest gently inside something small, maybe even inside you. Simpson's paradox. Imagine this. You're looking at two job candidates. One has better scores in every category, interviews, tests, even experience. But when you add everything together, somehow the other person looks better. How can that be? How can all the smaller parts say one thing, but the full picture says the opposite? This isn't a trick of the eye. It's a strange and real puzzle called Simpson's paradox. And once you understand it, you'll start to notice it everywhere. In news headlines, school results, even in how we understand people and make decisions. Before we go any deeper, let's connect for a moment. I'd love to know, have you ever had an experience where everything seemed clear at first, but when you looked closer, the truth completely changed? Maybe a misunderstanding between friends, or a test that looked easy but turned out to be full of hidden traps. Share your story in the comments if you'd like. And if you enjoy peaceful reflections on surprising ideas, I'd be so thankful if you'd like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, or subscribe to join our quiet little community. Now, let's slow down and begin. Simpson's paradox is one of those quiet surprises hiding inside everyday life. At its core, it's about how combining data can lead to the opposite of what each group seems to show. That may sound like a math problem, but really, it's about how we see the truth. Let's use a simple example. Imagine two doctors at a hospital. Dr. A and Dr. B both treat many patients. If you look at each department, say, the emergency room and the surgery wing, Dr. A has better recovery rates in both areas. So far, so clear. But when you add all the departments together, suddenly Dr. B comes out looking better. How? It turns out that Dr. A had more difficult cases overall. The group totals don't match the parts, and that's the paradox. It's like putting together puzzle pieces that each show a sunny day, but the full picture ends up cloudy. The data didn't lie, but the way we combined it changed the meaning. This doesn't just happen in hospitals, it shows up in education too. Imagine two schools, School X and School Y. In both math and science, School X has higher pass rates. But when you combine all subjects, School Y looks like it performed better overall. Why? Maybe School X had more students taking harder subjects, or maybe the class sizes were different. The individual wins disappear when the groups are added. We can even see this in sports. A baseball player might have a better batting average than another in both the first and second half of a season. But when the full season is added up, the other player wins. It feels impossible, but it's not. It's just how numbers work when groups are uneven. The truth shifts when we zoom in or zoom out. This teaches us something gentle but powerful. Numbers aren't always as clear as they seem, and sometimes the way we frame a story is just as important as the story itself. Let's pause here and think about something more human. Have you ever felt like your whole life was being judged by one moment? Or like a big decision about you didn't match what you'd done in smaller parts? Maybe at school, someone looked only at your average grade, but didn't see how hard you worked in each subject. Or maybe in a relationship, someone focused on one argument and forgot the days of kindness. Simpson's paradox mirrors this feeling, that what's true in pieces gets lost in the whole, and it reminds us to look more carefully before we decide what something means. It also connects to how we judge others. Imagine meeting someone who seems quiet and cold in a group, but when you spend time with them alone, they're warm and full of life. We do this with people all the time. We combine impressions. We judge from averages. And sometimes that hides the truth inside. Even in language, the paradox lives. Think of a sentence like, "She always wins." But what if she wins small games and loses big ones? The average can be misleading. Words like numbers need context. In the world of artificial intelligence, this puzzle gets even more interesting. AI systems often learn from large amounts of data, but if that data is grouped the wrong way or combined without care, they might learn things that aren't actually true. For example, an AI might say one product is better overall, even if in every situation another product performs better. That's not just confusing. It can change real-world decisions. It's another reason to treat information gently. Simpson's paradox also touches on something deeper in the human mind, the way we long for simple answers. Our brains want to say this is better or that is worse, but the world is rarely that clean. This paradox reminds us that truth is layered. It can't always be squeezed into a single number or label, and sometimes it takes a step back or a closer look to really see what's going on. This can be comforting too. If you've ever felt like your effort isn't seen, or like people only see your total and not your journey, remember this paradox. The full picture might be hiding your real story, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. It just means someone needs to look closer. As we come to the end of this gentle reflection, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever seen something like this in your own life? A time when small wins were ignored in the big picture, or when the group view didn't match the individual truth? If you feel safe to share, you're warmly invited to do so in the comments. This space is for slow thoughts, kind words, and the deep calm of curious minds. And if this journey helped ease your thoughts or sparked your wonder, I'd be so grateful if you'd like the video, leave a kind comment, and subscribe for more gentle reflections. Simpson's paradox reminds us that things are not always what they seem, that even when every piece tells one story, the whole can tell another. And in that quiet shift, we learn to be more patient, more thoughtful, and maybe, just maybe, a little more kind to others and to ourselves. Brace's paradox. Imagine being stuck in traffic, inching forward, hoping a new road will help you get home faster. But then, something strange happens. That new road opens, more choices appear, yet the traffic gets worse. How can adding something, meant to help slow things down? It feels puzzling, almost like a trick played by the city itself. This surprising truth is known as Brace's paradox. It shows us how sometimes having more options can lead to more delay, something that feels confusing yet is real. Before we dive deeper, I'd like to invite you to think about your own experience. Have you ever been caught in a traffic jam that seemed to get worse after a new route opened? Or maybe you faced a choice in life where having too many options made things harder, not easier. Feel free to share where you're watching from or your story in the comments. It's nice to know we're exploring these puzzles together wherever we are. Now let's gently explore how Brace's paradox works. Imagine a simple town with two roads connecting your home and your workplace. Everyone picks the fastest route, trying to avoid traffic. Then, the city builds a shortcut, a new road that seems like it will save time for all drivers. But once it opens, something unexpected happens. Drivers start switching to the shortcut, trying to save time. Yet, because everyone is doing the same thing, the shortcut gets crowded and the overall traffic slows down. So the new road meant to help actually makes the trip longer for everyone. This seems strange, but it's not just about roads. It's about choices and how individual decisions can create a surprising group effect. Think of it like this. When everyone tries to pick the best choice for themselves, it might lead to a worse outcome for the whole group. Let's imagine this idea in everyday life. Suppose you and your friends decide where to eat. If everyone chooses their favorite restaurant alone, things go smoothly. But if suddenly a new popular place opens, everyone rushes there. The restaurant gets too crowded. Now the experience isn't as good for anyone. The new choice, instead of helping, makes things worse. This paradox shows something important about life. More choices don't always mean better outcomes. Sometimes too many options can cause confusion, delays, or frustration. And this isn't just about roads or food. It touches on how we make decisions in relationships, work, and even mental health. Think about relationships. Sometimes having many options, whether for friends, partners, or opportunities, can make it harder to feel satisfied. We might spend more time deciding or worrying if we made the right choice. The paradox is a gentle reminder that sometimes less is more, and focusing on fewer options can bring peace. In work or study, too many tasks or goals can slow us down. When our plate is too full, productivity can drop. It's like the new road in traffic. More things to do, but less progress. So, Brace's paradox invites us to be mindful of how many choices we take on, and how those choices affect not just ourselves, but others too. Even in technology and artificial intelligence, this idea has meaning. When AI systems have too many options or data paths, they can become slower or less effective. Sometimes simplifying the system leads to better results. It's a quiet lesson about balance and flow. On a deeper level, Brace's paradox shows us that life isn't always straightforward. Our instincts might tell us more is better, more roads, more choices, more options. But reality can surprise us. Sometimes adding more creates complexity that slows everything down. It's a delicate dance between freedom and limitation, between individual desires and group outcomes. This can feel comforting, especially if you've ever felt overwhelmed by too many choices or decisions. The paradox reminds us it's okay to seek simplicity, to limit options for better peace and flow. It's not failure to say no to some paths. It's wisdom to protect your time and calm. As we end this quiet reflection, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced something like Brace's paradox in your life? A time when more choices brought more trouble? Or maybe a moment when less was truly more? Your stories are welcome here in the comments, a gentle space to share and learn together. If this calm exploration of a curious paradox brought you peace or wonder, please like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more soothing ideas. Together, we can keep finding the quiet surprises that help us understand life a little better. Brace's paradox teaches us that sometimes the path to ease isn't more options, but fewer. It's a soft reminder to slow down, to choose carefully, and to trust that sometimes less truly is more. Monty's Dilemma. Imagine you're on a game show. 3 doors stand before you. Behind one door is a prize you really want, and behind the other 2, nothing. You pick one door. Then, the host, who knows what's behind the doors, opens another door, one that has nothing behind it. Now you have a choice. Stick with your original door or switch to the other unopened door. What do? It feels natural to think that it doesn't matter if you switch or stay, that your chances are equal. But here's the surprising twist. Switching doors actually doubles your chance of winning. This is Monty's Dilemma, a paradox that challenges what feels obvious. Before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced a choice where the answer seemed obvious, but the truth turned out to be different? Or maybe you've played a game or made a decision that surprised you. Share your thoughts and where you're watching from in the comments. It's comforting to know we're exploring these puzzling moments together. Let's take it step by step. Imagine you pick door number 1. At this moment, your chance of having picked the prize is 1 in 3. The chance that the prize is behind one of the other 2 doors is 2 in 3. The host, knowing what's behind each door, opens a door you didn't pick, revealing no prize there. Now, you are left with your original door and 1 unopened door. It might feel like your chance is 50-50, but it isn't. Your original choice still has a 1 in 3 chance of being correct, but the other unopened door now carries the full 2 in 3 chance, so switching doors gives you a better chance to win. This idea feels strange because it goes against our gut feeling about fairness or chance. We want to believe that each unopened door has an equal chance. But Monty's dilemma shows us that sometimes our instincts about probability can mislead us. It reminds us how tricky our minds can be with uncertainty. Let's think about this idea beyond game shows. Imagine you are deciding between 2 job offers. At first, both seem equally good. But if new information appears, say one company shows signs of instability, then switching your choice based on that new knowledge might be smarter. It's like Monty's dilemma. Your first choice was made with limited information, and when some of that changes, changing your decision can improve your chances. This paradox also touches on how we deal with uncertainty in life. Sometimes we stick to old beliefs or choices because they feel safe or familiar. But learning to update our choices when new information comes can lead to better outcomes. It's a gentle reminder to stay open and flexible, especially when life surprises us. In relationships, this can be about how we hold on or let go. Sometimes, holding on to what feels certain may not be best. Letting go and trying something new, though scary, can lead to happiness. Monty's dilemma encourages us to think about the power of change, even when it feels uncertain. This paradox also relates to how artificial intelligence learns. AI often updates its predictions as it gains new data, switching from old ideas to new ones to get better results. It's a slow but steady process of learning from fresh information, just like the logic behind switching doors. Monty's dilemma quietly shows us that life is full of hidden chances. What feels true at first may not be the whole story. Sometimes, being willing to change our minds, to switch doors, can open the way to better paths. As we finish this calm reflection, I invite you to share your stories or thoughts on times when changing your choice led to better results. What doors have you switched in your life? Your stories help build a kind and curious community here. If this gentle exploration of Monty's dilemma sparked your curiosity or brought calm understanding, please like, comment, and subscribe for more thoughtful ideas. Together, we can keep discovering the quiet mysteries that help us live wiser. Remember, sometimes the best choice is to switch, even when it feels unexpected. Thomson's lamp. Imagine a lamp that you switch on and off repeatedly, faster and faster. So fast, in fact, that you flip the switch an infinite number of times in just a few seconds. Sounds strange, right? Now here's the puzzle. After all, those infinite flips, is the lamp on or off? At first it seems like a simple question, but it leads to a surprising mystery with no clear answer. This is Thomson's lamp, a paradox that makes us question what really happens when infinity meets everyday actions. Before we explore this puzzle, I'd love to know, have you ever had moments where you felt stuck in a loop, flipping between choices or feelings so fast it seemed endless? Or maybe you've seen something happen over and over, but you weren't sure what would come next? Share your experiences or where you're watching from in the comments below. It's nice to connect over these strange but human moments. Let's break it down. Imagine at exactly 1 second, you flip the lamp switch on. Then, at half a second, you flip it off. At a quarter of a second, back on. Then off at an eighth of a second, on at a 16th, and so on. You keep doing this forever, having the time each flip takes. The total time to flip the switch infinitely many times adds up to just 2 seconds. So after 2 seconds, you've flipped the lamp on and off without stopping. Now the question is, after those 2 seconds, is the lamp on or off? It seems impossible to say. Every time you try to imagine the lamp's final state, it's unclear because it has been switched on and off endlessly. The paradox shows how infinity can make simple actions feel impossible to pin down. To help understand, think about a game of rock, paper, scissors with a friend. Imagine you keep changing your choice faster and faster, never settling on one. When the game finally ends, what did you choose? Just like the lamp, it's unclear because you never stayed on one choice long enough. Or imagine a heartbeat that speeds up and slows down so quickly, flipping between fast and slow infinitely many times in a short moment. What would your heart rate be then? This is the kind of puzzling question Thomson's lamp invites us to think about. This paradox asks bigger questions about how we understand time and actions. In real life, things happen one after another, and we expect a clear result at the end. But with infinity, the usual rules don't always work. This challenges how we think about change, decision, and even what it means for something to be on or off. It also touches on our minds and feelings. Sometimes we feel like we are flipping back and forth between thoughts, worries, or moods very quickly. It can be hard to know where we finally stand. Thomson's lamp reflects that restless feeling of uncertainty when things seem to change endlessly. In technology, especially in artificial intelligence, this idea matters too. AI systems learn by adjusting their actions repeatedly based on new data, but they need to reach a stable point eventually. Thomson's lamp reminds us that infinite, back and forth without settling, can make it hard to find a clear answer or final decision. This calm reflection on Thomson's lamp helps us see that some questions don't have easy endings. It invites us to be comfortable with mystery and uncertainty, and to accept that some puzzles might stay unsolved. Before we close, I invite you to share times when you felt like your thoughts or choices flipped too quickly to find peace. Your stories build a gentle community where we can explore together. If this quiet look at Thomson's lamp brought you calm or curiosity, please like, comment, and subscribe. More thoughtful ideas await as we continue to explore life's mysterious puzzles. Sometimes the journey is more important than the answer, and that is okay. Gabriel's elevator. Have you ever felt like you're climbing toward a goal, only to look up and see the same distance still ahead of you? Imagine stepping into an elevator that takes you halfway to the top floor. You press the button again, and it carries you halfway of that remaining distance. Again and again, you rise, but you never truly reach the top. That gentle, endless journey is what we call Gabriel's elevator, a quiet paradox that shows how sometimes, no matter how much we move forward, the finish line stays just out of reach. Before we step inside, I'd love to know where you're joining from. Are you winding down in your bedroom, watching the sunset from a balcony, or tucked under a cozy blanket? Share your spot in the comments, and if you enjoy floating through these calm reflections, please tap like, leave a comment, and consider subscribing for more peaceful explorations of life's gentle mysteries. Picture yourself standing in the lobby of a tall building, eyes fixed on the shining button for the top floor. You press it, and the doors close. The elevator hums quietly, then opens again. You've reached halfway to the goal, maybe the 10th floor of 20. You step out for a moment, look around, and decide to continue. You re-enter, press the top floor button, and rise halfway again, from the 10th to the 15th. You pause, catch your breath, and step out again. You keep doing this, each time closing half the remaining distance. The journey feels real. You feel progression. Yet the top floor remains forever one more half step away. This idea might sound strange at first. After all, each ride moves you upward. You go from 0 to 10, then 10 to 15, then 15 to 17 off 5, and so on. Each time you make progress. But if you try to add up all those half steps, you'll never reach the full height. You'll get closer and closer, but the final step never arrives. It's as if the goal is a horizon receding gently as you approach. To make it feel more familiar, think of everyday life. When you're learning a new skill, you often improve quickly at first. You learn to play a few notes on the piano, then a simple song. Then you learn more slowly, half as fast as before. You practice again and again, but each time you feel you gain only half of what remains to master. Your skill grows, but true mastery seems to sit just beyond your fingers. You celebrate each new note, each new song, yet the feeling of arriving fades away into the next challenge. Or imagine saving money. You start with an empty jar. You add $100, feels good. Then you add half of what's left to your goal, of $1,000. So $450. Next time you add half of the remaining $450, and so on. You see your jar fill quickly at first, then more slowly. Every deposit matters, but you never quite hit $1,000. You watch the numbers climb, but reaching the finish line always feels like one more step away. This paradox isn't just about math or elevators. It whispers to us about how we chase goals, dreams, and even moments of happiness. We set a goal, we take steps, and each step feels meaningful. Yet as we near the goal, we slow down, edging forward in smaller, careful movements. We might wonder, will I ever get there? The answer is both yes and no. Yes, because we keep moving, and no, because the final moment of arrival stays just beyond our grasp. In relationships, we sometimes feel this too. We want to feel completely understood by someone. At first, small acts of kindness bring us closer. A shared joke, a thoughtful gift, a quiet conversation. Then we try to get even closer. Half the emotional distance that remains. We share a deeper memory, a hidden fear. But still, understanding feels one more step away. We cherish each half step of connection, even as true, complete understanding remains elusive. And perhaps that's part of the beauty. The journey itself, the soft unfolding of trust, becomes the gift more than the final arrived state. This idea gently touches on belief and mental health as well. Sometimes we wish to heal completely from a past wound. We work on it, first healing half the pain, then half of what remains, and so on. Each bit of healing counts. Yet perfect healing, the total absence of pain, may feel endlessly distant. Still, each half step brings relief and growth. The process reminds us that healing is an ongoing path, not just a destination. Gabriel's elevator also reflects how artificial intelligence learns. Many AI systems improve by taking small steps, reducing errors by half each time. They edge closer to perfect accuracy, yet absolute perfection remains just out of reach. The training loops continue, always improving, always approaching a limit, but never exceeding it. And that limit, often called the error floor, is a reminder of the paradox. Progress is real, but the final finish line stays ahead of us. As you listen now, feel the calm rhythm of this half-step journey. Notice your own life's parades of half steps, moments when you learned something new, when you grew a little braver, when you loved a little more. Each one counts. Each one is a movement upward, and even if the top feels distant, each step brings us closer to who we want to be. Before we let this reflection settle, I'd love to hear from you one more time. Is there a goal you're working toward? A dream that feels half a step away more often than fully within reach? Or a moment of growth that came in small, gentle increments? Please share in the comments. Our community finds comfort in these shared journeys of small steps and quiet progress. If Gabriel's elevator brought you a moment of peace, curiosity, or comfort, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more soft stories that shine a light on life's gentle paradoxes. And remember, the climb, a series of half steps, can be as beautiful as any final arrival. May your journey upward, no matter how small each step, bring you quiet wonder and a sense of calm purpose. Ross Littlewood. Imagine a simple game you play with a jar and a handful of balls. Every minute, you add some balls to the jar and then take some out. You keep doing this, adding and removing, again and again. Now here's the puzzling question. After doing this forever, how many balls are left in the jar? It sounds like a game that should have a clear answer, but the truth surprises us. It seems like the jar should be both full and empty at the same time. This curious puzzle is called the Ross-Littlewood paradox, and it teaches us something deep about infinity and how our minds try to understand endless processes. But before we dive into this strange puzzle, I'm curious, where are you watching from right now? Maybe curled up in a quiet room, or sitting in a park as the breeze flows by? Feel free to share in the comments below. If you enjoy these calm journeys into the mysteries of thought, please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Now, let's think about the game itself in simple terms. Imagine you start with an empty jar. At the first minute, you add 10 balls. Then, you remove 1 ball. So after 1 minute, there are 9 balls inside. At the second minute, you add 10 more balls, making 19. Then, you remove 2 balls, ending up with 17 balls. At the third minute, you add 10 balls again, totaling 27, then remove 3 balls, leaving 24 balls. This seems straightforward so far. The jar is getting fuller with each round because you add more than you remove. But now, imagine you keep going like this forever. Each minute, you add 10 balls and then remove a number of balls equal to the minute's count. So at minute 100, you add 10 balls and remove 100 balls. At minute 1000, you add 10 and remove 1000. This pattern continues endlessly. As time moves on, the number of balls you remove grows larger and larger. Eventually, you start removing more balls than you add each minute. Intuition tells us the jar should empty out eventually. But wait, you only remove balls that are already inside. So, how is it possible to remove more balls than you have? This tension is what creates the paradox. To understand this better, think about a simpler version. At minute 1, add balls 1 to 10, then remove ball number 1. At minute 2, add balls 11 to 20, remove ball number 2. Minute 3, add balls 21 to 30, remove ball number 3, and so on. You keep adding 10 balls, but always remove just 1 ball each minute. This looks like the jar will keep growing forever. Now, what happens after infinitely many minutes? Have you noticed how the removal process targets specific balls by their number? Each ball that was ever added is eventually removed, since every ball's number matches a minute when it gets taken out. It might seem like no balls remain at all, but since the process goes on forever, and you keep adding more balls each minute, could the jar be endlessly full? This is the strange heart of the Ross-Littlewood paradox. This puzzle highlights how infinity changes the way we think about quantity and time. In everyday life, adding and removing things is clear and final. If you add more than you take away, the total grows. If you take away more, the total shrinks. But when we stretch this process to infinity, the rules begin to blur. It feels like a trick, yet it reveals how infinity challenges our usual understanding. You might relate this to moments in life when you feel overwhelmed by constant changes, like trying to organize your thoughts while new worries keep arriving. You put energy into calming your mind, but new thoughts enter. It can feel like a jar filling and emptying at the same time. How do you find balance? The paradox gently reminds us that sometimes the process itself is more important than the final result. Life flows as a series of adding and letting go, a dance of presence and absence. This idea also connects with language and belief. Words and ideas come and go, sometimes piling up in conversations, then fading away. When you share your thoughts, you add to the mix. When you listen, you remove misunderstandings or replace ideas with new ones. Like the balls in the jar, our thoughts are in motion, never fully settled. Understanding this helps us appreciate the fluid nature of communication and belief, where things are always changing, yet something remains. The paradox has echoes in mental health too. Imagine feelings and emotions like the balls in the jar. You might add moments of joy or hope, and sometimes remove moments of sadness or fear. This cycle can repeat endlessly. It can feel confusing to wonder how much you carry inside. How much remains after so many shifts? Gabriel's paradox invites patience with this natural ebb and flow, reminding us that healing and growth often happen through ongoing cycles, not sudden fixes. Even in artificial intelligence, similar patterns appear. Algorithms learn by constantly updating information, adding new data, and removing errors. These processes can continue indefinitely, refining understanding bit by bit. Like the jar, the AI's knowledge is always changing, never static. The Ross-Littlewood paradox gently points to the beautiful complexity in these systems that evolve over time. As you settle into this reflection, notice the rhythm of adding and removing in your own life, moments of gaining and letting go, steps forward and back. The paradox doesn't ask us to solve the puzzle completely, but invites us to find calm in the mystery, to appreciate the dance between fullness and emptiness. Before we close, I'd love to hear from you. Have you experienced moments where you felt caught between adding and losing, like your thoughts or emotions were swirling endlessly? Share your story or your place in the world below. Your voice is part of this peaceful community exploring life's gentle puzzles. If this gentle paradox brought you a moment of calm or wonder, please give a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more soft explorations of life's quiet mysteries. Thank you for joining this journey into the unexpected dance of infinity. May your own jar always feel just right, full of hope and space to grow. Allais paradox. Imagine you have to make a choice between two different options. One option feels safer, but with smaller rewards. The other is riskier, but could bring a bigger prize. You might think your choice would stay the same, even if the chances or outcomes shift a little. But surprisingly, sometimes just a small change in the numbers can make you switch your choice completely. This strange change in decision-making is called the Allais paradox, and it shows how our feelings about risk don't always follow simple logic. Maybe you've faced a choice like this yourself, perhaps deciding whether to take a sure grade on a test or gamble for a higher score, or picking a quiet night in instead of a chance for adventure. I'd love to know where you are watching from. Maybe your own spot of calm or a place full of surprises. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy these gentle explorations, please like, comment, and subscribe for more moments like this. The Allais paradox reveals something very human about how we make decisions. Imagine you are given a choice between two bets. In the first bet, you can get $1,000 for sure. In the second bet, you might get $5,000, but only with a 10% chance, or nothing at all. Most people choose the sure $1,000. They prefer certainty, even if the bigger reward is tempting. Now, here's the twist. If you change the bets just a little, maybe now both choices are risky, but with different chances. People often change their minds. They might choose the riskier option in this new setup, even though it doesn't seem to make sense when compared to the first choice. This flip in preference is the heart of the Allais paradox. This paradox is fascinating because it shows how our minds don't always work with strict rules or neat math. Instead, we mix feelings, hopes, fears, and personal experience. Think about how you might feel when picking between a guaranteed good outcome and a risky bigger one. Your mood, recent experiences, or even the way the choice is presented can sway you. This is something everyone can relate to. Our minds are not machines, but beautifully imperfect. You might recognize this pattern in everyday situations. Imagine planning your day. You could choose a steady, planned schedule that feels safe and predictable, or you might try something new and uncertain, like exploring a new route or hobby. Sometimes, a small change in your mood or a friend's suggestion can make you pick the unexpected path. Your choice shifts even though the options seem similar. This everyday flip echoes the Allais paradox, showing how risk and reward play with our sense of safety and excitement. This idea also connects deeply to beliefs and language. When we talk about risk, we use words like sure, maybe, and chance. These words shape how we feel about what might happen. Sometimes the way a choice is described can change how we react. A promise of 100% certain feels very different from a high chance, even if the numbers mean almost the same thing. The paradox gently reminds us that language carries emotion and meaning beyond facts, coloring how we decide. In mental health, the Allais paradox can offer insight too. When facing challenges, people often weigh risks and rewards in their own minds. Some might choose to avoid change because it feels safer. Others might take big risks hoping for a breakthrough. The paradox shows that our choices are not fixed, but shift with our feelings and outlook. Understanding this can help us be kinder to ourselves when decisions feel confusing or contradictory. Even in artificial intelligence, this paradox raises questions. AI systems often try to make rational choices based on data, but human decisions don't always follow perfect logic. Teaching machines to understand this subtlety is a challenge. The Allais paradox highlights the complexity of human choice, showing that risk is not just about numbers, but also about feelings and context. As you listen quietly now, think about moments when you've changed your mind, even though the choices seemed similar. What feelings were behind that shift? The paradox invites us to notice these gentle swings in our thinking without judgment. It's okay to feel unsure or to change direction. It's part of being human. Before we end, I invite you to share your own stories or thoughts about risk and choice. Where are you watching from? How do you feel about making tough decisions? Your experiences help create a warm community exploring life's curious mysteries. If this calm reflection on the Allais paradox touched you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining this peaceful journey into the surprising ways we think and decide. May your choices bring you both courage and comfort. 2 envelope. Imagine you are handed 2 sealed envelopes. You know one contains twice as much money as the other, but you don't know which is which. You pick one at random. Now here's the curious part. Someone tells you that if you switch envelopes, you will always end up with more money. It sounds like a sure win, right? But if that's true, then wouldn't you want to keep switching forever? This strange idea puzzles many because it feels like you could never lose by swapping. Have you ever been in a situation where changing your mind seemed to promise a better outcome, but also left you feeling stuck or unsure? I'd love to hear where you're watching from and what choices like this feel like in your own life. Please share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy these calm explorations, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. This is the essence of the 2-envelope paradox. It's a simple game, yet it reveals a deep puzzle about chance, choice, and what we think we know. At first glance, the idea of always benefiting from switching seems to break the rules of logic. If you have an envelope with some amount of money, say $50, then the other envelope either has $25 or $100. The expected value calculation suggests that switching will give you a higher average win. But this reasoning feels strange. How can swapping always be better if both envelopes started equal in your eyes? This conflict between intuition and calculation makes the paradox so fascinating. In everyday life, we often face choices that feel like this. Maybe you've chosen between 2 job offers, 2 places to live, or even 2 simple meals. Sometimes a small piece of new information or a change in perspective can make the other option seem better, tempting you to switch your choice. But if you keep second-guessing yourself, the decision becomes exhausting. The 2-envelope paradox quietly reminds us that not every choice has a clear best answer, and that uncertainty is part of how we live. This puzzle also teaches us about how we understand value and expectation. When we think about money or rewards, we tend to want certainty, but we also want to maximize what we get. The paradox shows that trying to predict gains based only on averages or guesses can mislead us. It asks us to slow down and consider the limits of what we know. What does it mean to expect a better outcome? And can that expectation guide us in real life? Or does it sometimes trap us in endless doubt? The 2-envelope paradox also touches on deeper ideas about belief and language. The words we use to describe chances, like probably, likely, or expected, carry more than numbers. They carry hope, fear, and sometimes confusion. How we talk about risk and reward shapes how we feel about our choices. This Paradox invites us to listen carefully not only to the math, but to the stories and feelings behind our decisions. In mental health, this paradox gently reflects how we handle uncertainty and decision-making. People struggling with anxiety, for example, might experience a similar loop of doubt, wondering if switching paths would always be better. The paradox shows us that this feeling is common and natural. It encourages kindness toward ourselves when we face confusing or uncertain choices. Not every decision needs to be perfect, and sometimes the best thing is simply to be present with the moment. Even in the world of artificial intelligence, the two-envelope paradox raises important questions. AI tries to make decisions by calculating expected outcomes, but human choices often include emotions and uncertainties that numbers alone can't capture. Teaching machines to handle this complexity is a big challenge. This paradox helps remind us that human thinking is rich and layered, far beyond pure logic. As you settle into this quiet moment, consider times when you've wondered if switching your choice would bring better results. What feelings came with that thought? How do you balance hope with doubt? The two-envelope paradox encourages us to explore these feelings gently without pressure or judgment. Before we finish, I invite you to share your own experiences or thoughts about decisions that felt like a puzzle. Where are you watching from? How do you feel when choices seem both clear and confusing? Your stories help build a warm community, discovering life's curious mysteries together. If this calm reflection on the two-envelope paradox touched you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for sharing this peaceful journey into the surprising ways we think about chance, choice, and what might lie beyond. May your decisions bring you both clarity and calm. Rebound paradox. Imagine you are bouncing a ball on the ground, and each time it hits the floor, you push it harder than before. At first, it seems normal. The ball goes up and comes back down. But then, something strange happens. If you keep pushing harder and harder with each bounce, it feels like the ball's energy is multiplying endlessly. It almost looks like you're creating more energy from nowhere, which seems impossible. Have you ever noticed something that feels like it should follow the rules, but then surprises you by breaking them? Maybe in your own life you've tried to fix a problem and instead felt it getting bigger, or pushed harder for something and found it becoming more complex. I'd love to know where you are watching from, and if you've experienced moments like this, please share in the comments. And if these quiet reflections bring you calm, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more gentle explorations. The rebound paradox is a curious idea that comes from imagining what happens if you never stop pushing the ball harder as it bounces. It makes us wonder if energy, which we think should stay the same, or even get used up, could actually grow endlessly, in some way. Of course, in real life, energy doesn't just multiply out of thin air. But this paradox invites us to think deeply about how we understand cause and effect, effort and result. It reminds us that sometimes things are not as simple as they seem. Think about everyday moments where you try harder and harder, but the results don't quite match your effort. Like studying for an exam, you might spend more hours, but your stress grows instead of your confidence. Or in relationships, sometimes pushing harder for understanding can feel like it makes things more tense, not less. The paradox quietly shows us how effort doesn't always lead to straightforward success, and that there can be surprising twists along the way. This idea also helps us see how we talk about energy and effort in daily life. When we say things like putting in more energy or pushing harder, we usually expect better results. But the paradox hints that the relationship between effort and outcome can be more complicated. It asks us to think about balance, when to push and when to let go. This subtlety often gets lost in simple advice, but it is very real and important. In mental health, the rebound paradox gently reflects how trying to overcome challenges sometimes feels like making them bigger. If we keep forcing ourselves to bounce back harder after a setback, we might feel exhausted or trapped in a cycle. Understanding this can bring compassion for ourselves. It teaches us that healing and growth are not always about pushing harder, but also about timing, rest, and kindness. Even in the world of artificial intelligence, this paradox has meaning. Machines that learn and improve are often designed to increase their energy or power over time. But the way humans handle effort and fatigue is more complex. Teaching AI to understand balance, not just growth, is a growing challenge. The rebound paradox reminds us that growth and effort need wisdom, not just power. As you listen softly, now think about moments when trying harder felt like it made things more complicated instead of easier. What did that feel like? How did you respond? This paradox invites us to notice these moments without frustration or blame, and to find gentle ways to move forward. Before we end, I invite you to share your own stories about effort and results. Where are you watching from? How do you find balance in your own challenges? Your sharing builds a kind community, exploring life's gentle mysteries. If this quiet journey into the rebound paradox spoke to you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining this calm space to explore the surprising ways effort and energy connect. May your days be filled with peaceful strength and gentle balance. Missing square. Have you ever worked on a puzzle and thought all the pieces fit perfectly, only to find later that something seems missing? Imagine a set of puzzle pieces arranged in one way, forming a complete shape, and then rearranged to look almost the same, but now with a hole where none was before. It feels like magic or a trick. You trust your eyes, but the picture breaks a rule. Have you ever experienced moments where what seems true suddenly changes just because things were put together differently? Maybe in your life or work, you noticed how small changes created surprising results. I'd love to know where you are watching from, and if you've ever seen something that didn't quite add up. Please share your thoughts below. And if these calm reflections help you feel peaceful, please like, comment, and subscribe before we explore more. The missing square paradox is a playful puzzle about shapes, spaces, and how our minds see them. At first, the pieces look like they fill a rectangle completely, but when rearranged, a small gap appears, as if a square went missing. It's not an error in the puzzle, but a gentle trick of geometry and perspective. The lines are not exactly straight, and tiny shifts change how the shapes fit together. This subtle change is so small it can be almost invisible, yet it changes everything. The paradox reminds us that our perception of truth can be delicate, and sometimes what we think is solid and certain can shift. Think about simple situations in daily life where you expect things to fit together neatly, but they don't quite match. Like when you plan your day and feel everything is set, but a small change in schedule leaves you feeling off balance. Or in relationships, where you expect clear communication, but a word or gesture changes the meaning unexpectedly. The missing square paradox gently shows us how small shifts can make big differences even if we don't notice them at first. This paradox also speaks to how we use language and belief. We often trust what we see and hear, expecting consistency. But the way we arrange information, like puzzle pieces, can change the whole picture. It invites us to pause and question what we accept as true, and to be open to subtlety and complexity. Sometimes, what seems like a mistake is really an invitation to look deeper. In terms of mental health, this paradox reminds us how feelings can shift with small changes in thought or perspective. A tiny thought, almost unnoticed, can make us feel hopeful or anxious. Learning to notice these small changes gently helps us care for our minds with kindness and awareness. The missing square also connects with ideas in artificial intelligence. Machines process data piece by piece, and how they arrange that data affects their understanding. This paradox teaches us about the importance of how information is organized and interpreted, both for humans and AI. It shows that even small errors or shifts can change what seems obvious. As you relax with this quiet reflection, think about times when small changes made a big difference in your experience. How did that feel? Did you notice right away, or did it surprise you later? This paradox invites us to be patient and curious about life's subtle mysteries. Before we end, please share your stories or thoughts on moments when things didn't quite add up as expected. Your words help build a thoughtful, caring community, exploring these gentle puzzles together. If this calm exploration of the missing, square paradox spoke to you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for sharing this peaceful space to wonder about the surprising ways small shifts shape our world. May you find quiet joy in the little mysteries around you. Non-measurable. Imagine holding a shape in your hand, trying to find out how much space it takes up. You might expect to measure its area just like you would with a piece of paper or a rug. But what if I told you that some shapes simply cannot have their area measured? It sounds strange, like a puzzle that refuses to be solved. Have you ever encountered something in life that feels just out of reach, no matter how hard you try to understand it? Maybe a thought, a feeling, or a problem that slips away just as you focus on it. I'd love to know where you're watching from and if you've ever faced moments when something important seemed impossible to grasp. Share your thoughts below. And if these gentle mysteries bring you calm, please like, comment, and subscribe before we dive deeper. The non-measurable paradox comes from a branch of mathematics that studies how we measure space and size. Usually, measuring something's area is simple. You count the squares on a grid, or you use a ruler. But some shapes, created through very special and careful methods, do not follow these simple rules. These shapes belong to what's called Lebesgue's weird world. They are so strangely constructed that no matter what tool or method you use, their area cannot be determined. This idea feels almost magical because it breaks the usual rules we trust about space and measurement. Think about everyday things that seem straightforward but hide surprising complexity. Like the weather, it looks simple, but small changes can make it unpredictable. Or preparing for an exam, sometimes no matter how much you study, a question might seem impossible to answer. Relationships can be like this too. We expect to understand each other fully, but sometimes feelings or thoughts are hard to measure or explain. The non-measurable paradox invites us to accept that not everything can be neatly counted or explained, and that mystery can live alongside clarity. This paradox helps us see the limits of language and belief. We often think we can explain everything clearly and put it into neat boxes. But just like these unmeasurable shapes, some ideas or experiences don't fit into simple descriptions. They ask us to be comfortable with not knowing everything, to find peace in uncertainty. This is a gentle reminder that life is full of things beyond measure. In terms of mental health, this idea resonates deeply. Sometimes our feelings, thoughts, or pain cannot be fully understood or measured, even by ourselves. Trying too hard to define or control these experiences can cause stress or frustration. The non-measurable paradox teaches us to approach ourselves with patience and kindness, embracing what can't be pinned down. Even in the world of artificial intelligence, this paradox has meaning. AI learns by measuring and analyzing data, but there are parts of human experience that resist measurement, like emotions or creativity. Understanding these limits helps us create smarter, more thoughtful machines. It reminds us that some parts of being human remain beautifully mysterious. As you settle into this calm reflection, think about moments when something important to you seemed impossible to fully grasp or measure. How did you feel? What did you do? This paradox encourages us to be gentle with ourselves and the unknown. Before we end, please share your own stories or thoughts about times when things felt unmeasurable or mysterious. Your sharing helps build a peaceful community, exploring life's quiet wonders together. If this calm journey into Lebesgue's world spoke to you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for being part of this gentle space to explore the surprising and beautiful mysteries of our world. May your days be filled with quiet curiosity and peaceful understanding. Population paradox. Have you ever watched a garden grow and noticed that some flowers, though they bloom faster, seem to disappear among the others? It feels odd. How can something that grows more quickly end up feeling smaller in the bigger picture? This is the essence of the population paradox, a quiet surprise in the way groups change over time. It shows that faster growth doesn't always mean a larger share, and it gently reminds us that our perspective on change can shift in unexpected ways. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Maybe in a sunny courtyard, a cozy bedroom, or a peaceful park. Share your spot in the comments, and if you enjoy these calm explorations, please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Imagine two neighborhoods in a city, Sunnyvale and Meadowbrook. In 1 year, Sunnyvale doubled its new homes, building many houses quickly. Meadowbrook grows more slowly, adding only a few new homes. At first glance, Sunnyvale seems to be winning the growth race. Yet when you look at the city as a whole, you find that Meadowbrook's share of total homes rises, while Sunnyvale's share actually falls. How can that be? It happens because the city itself is also adding new neighborhoods, even faster than Sunnyvale. So while Sunnyvale grows rapidly on its own, the rest of the city grows even more rapidly, and Sunnyvale's slice of the whole pie becomes smaller. To make this feel more familiar, think about two students studying for an exam. One student studies 2 chapters each day, and the other studies 1 chapter each day, but the exam covers 20 chapters, and every day, 2 new chapters are added to the list. Even though the first student learns twice as fast, the total list grows faster, so both students fall behind. The student studying twice as fast may cover more chapters each day, but their share of completed work actually shrinks in the face of the expanding syllabus. This is a small echo of the population paradox, where individual effort feels real and meaningful, yet the surrounding world moves even faster. We see this paradox in nature too. Imagine 2 species of wildflowers in a meadow. One species spreads quickly, doubling its coverage each season. The other grows more modestly. Yet if new land opens up even faster through a change in soil or water flow, both species might find their relative share shrinking. The fast-growing flowers still spread, but the meadow as a whole is expanding more rapidly. Their bright blooms become less dominant, despite their vigorous growth. In our personal lives, we can feel this paradox when chasing goals. Suppose you decide to read 2 books every month, while a friend reads 1 book each month. Meanwhile, the library keeps adding 5 new books every month. You both read books, but the library's collection grows even faster, so the percentage of books you finish drops. You've read more than your friend, yet both of you feel you can't keep up. It's a gentle reminder that our progress is relative to the pace of change around us. This paradox touches on belief and language as well. We often speak of keeping up or falling behind, and these phrases carry emotion. When we say, "I'm falling behind," it may not mean we're doing less. It may simply mean the world around us is moving more quickly. Understanding the population paradox helps us reframe these feelings. It invites us to be kinder to ourselves by recognizing that sometimes the shift comes from the wider context, not from our own lack of effort. In relationships, we might see a similar pattern. 2 friends invest time in staying close. One calls twice a week, the other once. But their circle of friends grows even faster, with new people and new experiences filling their time. Though both friends make real efforts, their closeness as a share of each person's social life can feel smaller. It's not that friendship is weaker, it's that life's circle expands. This realization can bring compassion, reminding us that distance sometimes grows not from neglect, but from life's natural flow. Even in mental health, the population paradox speaks to how we feel about progress. We might develop 2 healthy habits: meditation twice a day and a daily walk, while new challenges keep arising: work stress, family demands, unexpected worries. Our healthy habits still grow, but the total demands on our time grow even faster. We might feel like our self-care is slipping away, even as we practice it more. Recognizing this paradox can help us rest and refocus, knowing that our efforts are real and valuable, even if they seem small compared to life's expanding needs. In the world of artificial intelligence and data, the population paradox has its echo. A model might improve its accuracy by 2% each month, while the volume of new data grows by 5%. The model's true share of high-quality predictions can shrink, not because it is worse, but because the data environment is expanding faster. This insight helps engineers plan how to scale systems and resources, keeping pace with growth in data and demand. As you sit with this gentle paradox, notice how your own life feels in relation to change around you. Have you felt that despite your best efforts, things still move faster than you can hold? Perhaps at work, in learning, or in personal growth? These feelings connect us all. They remind us that life is dynamic, always expanding, and that our role is not just to grow, but to find peace within the flow. Before we close, I invite you to share in the comments. Where have you seen this paradox play out in your life? Maybe in your neighborhood, your studies, or your own habits? Your stories bring comfort, showing us we're not alone in feeling life's swift currents. If this reflection on the population paradox resonated with you, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more calm explorations of the curious ways our world unfolds. Remember, your efforts matter, even if they're a smaller piece of a larger whole. May you find calm and confidence in your own steady growth, no matter how fast the world spins around you. Ross's coin. Have you ever stared at a coin, ready to flip it, wondering whether it will land heads or tails? Imagine doing that, not just once or twice, but an infinite number of times, flipping and flipping forever. You might think that after a million flips, the pattern would settle, maybe showing more heads than tails, or vice versa. Yet no matter how many times you flip, the chance of heads or tails remains 50-50. It's as if the universe whispers, balance is always here, even an endless chance. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to know where you're watching from right now. Perhaps you're curled up in bed, or sitting under a favorite tree, or winding down after a long day. Feel free to share your spot in the comments. If you enjoy these quiet journeys into the heart of simple mysteries, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe to join our community of curious minds. Let's begin with a single flip. You toss the coin, it spins, and it lands. Heads or tails? You about don't know until it stops. Each flip feels fresh, a new moment of chance. Now imagine you flip again. Still, you have two options with equal likelihood. Flip again and again. As you continue, you might look for patterns, 2 heads in a row, 3 tails in a row, or a perfect alternation. Our minds love to see patterns in chance, to find stories in randomness. Yet no matter how many flips you do, there is no hidden trend that pulls heads or tails ahead. Over any stretch of flips, the proportion of heads stays around half, and so does the proportion of tails. To see why this feels strange, think of other things that seem to even out. Imagine you're tracking rainfall each day. Some days it rains, some days it doesn't. Over a season, you expect about half the days to bring showers. If you watched forever, you'd still see roughly the same balance. But rain can come in storms or drizzles, so you might see long dry spells or a sudden week of rain. With coin flips, you might get 10 heads in a row or a dozen tails in a row, but these are just temporary swings. The infinite horizon doesn't favor one side, balance stands firm. Now picture an exam with yes or no questions. You decide to guess every answer by flipping a coin. For each question, you have a 50% chance of getting it right. If the test had 2 questions, you might get both right, both wrong, or 1 right and 1 wrong. 4 questions, 8 questions. Still, each question remains a fresh 50-50 chance. Even if the test grows infinitely long, each question's result stands on its own. Your overall score will hover around half correct, give or take small swings along the way. This simple exam shows how independent chances build a steady balance in the long run. But why does this matter beyond coins and exams? It touches something deep about how we understand chance in life. Sometimes we feel that if we try enough times, we can change the odds. We think practice or persistence might tip the scales. Yet there are moments when events truly are independent of our past efforts. Like flipping a fair coin or making a guess on a random question, the outcome doesn't remember what happened before. This can be freeing, letting us know that not every result hinges on past success or failure. Each moment stands on its own. This idea offers comfort in mental health, too. Imagine you're facing waves of worry or doubt. You might feel stuck, as if each anxious thought leans on the last. But just like independent flips, each moment can reset. One calm breath doesn't guarantee the next, but it doesn't dictate the next either. Each breath, each thought, is a fresh start. Sometimes, we forget that balance is possible, that a peaceful moment can emerge even when we feel trapped by patterns. Ross's coin gently reminds us that renewal can come at any point. In relationships, we often hold on to past moments, good or bad, as if they steer every future moment. Yet each conversation, each gesture, can be a new flip of the coin. A gentle word today doesn't erase yesterday's harshness, but it creates a fresh chance for kindness. This paradox of chance teaches us to embrace the present, to allow each interaction to stand on its own rather than let patterns define us forever. Even in the world of artificial intelligence, Ross's coin finds a place. Many AI systems rely on random choices to learn or explore. They might try different moves in a game or sample different paths in a maze. Each random choice is independent, and over time the system balances exploration with exploitation. The coin flip moments ensure the AI doesn't get stuck repeating the same action again and again. Balance emerges through many fresh chances, not through a single deterministic path. As you breathe in and out now, think of your own moments as flips of the coin. Some days bring success, some days bring setbacks, yet each morning offers a new chance, a fresh flip. You carry the memory of what came before, but you're not bound by it. Press the gentle reset button inside you, and remember that balance rests in endless possibility. Before we finish, I invite you to share in the comments. Have you ever had moments where you felt stuck in a pattern, only to break free in a completely new way? Where did you find a fresh start when you least expected it? Your stories build a community of shared renewal. If this calm exploration of Ross's coin brought you comfort or curiosity, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more soft dives into life's simple mysteries. Remember, each moment is a flip. Equal chance, equal possibility. May your days be filled with gentle balance and fresh beginnings. Infinite Hotel. Imagine arriving at a hotel late at night, hoping for a room to rest, but the clerk tells you, "Sorry, we're full." You sigh, thinking your journey might end here. Then the clerk smiles and says, "Wait just a moment." With a simple plan, they move every guest one room up, room 1 to room 2, room 2 to room 3, and so on. Suddenly, room 1 is free just for you. The hotel is still full, yet it finds space for one more. How can that be? This surprising story feels like a quiet magic trick, one that invites us to rethink what full really means. Before we explore further, I'd love to know where you are right now. Are you listening in a cozy corner, maybe with a cup of tea? Share your little space in the comments, and let's create a calm community around these curious ideas. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, please like, comment, and subscribe to keep the calm flow going. This hotel, known as Hilbert's Infinite Hotel, is a thought experiment about infinity. It sounds impossible, but it helps us understand big ideas in a simple way. Imagine the hotel has an infinite number of rooms, numbered 1, 2, 3, and so on, forever. Usually when a hotel is full, it means no rooms are left for new guests. But with infinity, things change. Even if every room is occupied, there's still a way to make room for someone new. To see how, picture the guests as numbers. If every guest moves from their room number n to room n plus 1, room 1 becomes free. It's like shifting everyone one step forward. This way, the hotel seems full, but still accepts more guests. This idea can feel confusing, like trying to catch fog or count stars. Yet it quietly reveals how infinity isn't like regular numbers. It behaves differently. Think of other everyday examples where small changes create surprising results. Like the weather. Sometimes a tiny shift in wind direction changes a sunny day into a rainy one. Or in exams, a single extra question might change the entire grade. In relationships, a small kind word can open new doors. The Infinite Hotel asks us to consider how small moves can create space where we thought none existed. But this story is more than a trick with numbers. It touches deeper questions about how we see the world. Our minds like to think in clear, fixed ways. Full means full, empty means empty. Yet infinity challenges that. It invites us to imagine that limits might be different than we think. This can be calming. It shows that even when things feel crowded or overwhelming, there might be a hidden space we can't see at first glance. In life, we often feel full too, full of worries, tasks, or feelings. Like the hotel, we might believe we have no room left for anything new. But sometimes just a small shift in perspective, moving one thought, one feeling, can create space inside us again. This gentle idea encourages patience and hope when life feels tight. The Infinite Hotel also connects with how language shapes our understanding. Words like infinite or full carry meanings we rely on, but in special cases, those meanings stretch and twist. It's like how a sentence can mean different things depending on tone or context. Learning to hold space for these twists helps us communicate more clearly with ourselves and others, with kindness and curiosity. Mental health finds a quiet lesson here as well. When thoughts and emotions pile up, it feels like a crowded hotel inside the mind. But this paradox reminds us that we can shift how we arrange those thoughts. Maybe by changing focus or by stepping back, we can find room for calm. It's not about forcing away feelings but gently creating space for them to coexist. Even in the world of AI, the Infinite Hotel speaks to how systems manage vast possibilities. Some AI models handle infinite streams of data or ideas. They need ways to organize and make room for new information without losing what's already there. Like the hotel clerk shifting guests, AI uses clever tricks to keep growing and learning without breaking down. As you breathe slowly now, imagine yourself as the hotel clerk, calmly moving guests along to create space. You hold a peaceful power, the power to make room inside a crowded world. This paradox whispers that no matter how full things seem, a small change in how we look or act can open doors. Before we end, I invite you to share a moment when you found unexpected space in your life. Maybe on a busy day, a packed schedule, or a full heart. How did you create room for something new? Your stories remind us all that the Infinite Hotel lives in each of us. If this gentle exploration brought you calm or curiosity, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more quiet journeys into life's soft mysteries. Remember, sometimes fullness is not the end, but the start of a new way to see. May your days be filled with open doors and peaceful shifts. Grelling Nelson. Have you ever noticed how some words seem to fit themselves perfectly, while others don't? For example, the word short is itself short. It feels like the word is quietly telling you its own story just by its shape and sound. But then take the word long. It's a short word, yet it means something very different. This little twist in language feels mysterious and a bit playful, like a secret puzzle hidden in everyday speech. Have you ever thought about words describing themselves? Or maybe you found a word that surprises you by what it means compared to how it looks or sounds. Share where you are as you listen, maybe your favorite spot to relax or think, so we can build a gentle space for sharing these little wonders. If you like these quiet journeys into the curious parts of life, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps us keep this calm flow going. This puzzle is known as the Grelling-Nelson paradox, and it asks a simple question. Can a word describe itself? Some words do. They are called autological words. For example, short is short, English is an English word, and polysyllabic has many syllables. These words seem to wear their meaning on their sleeve, or rather, in their very shape. On the other hand, there are heterological words, words that do not describe themselves. For instance, long is not long. Monosyllabic is not a single syllable. and nonsense isn't nonsense in its meaning. At first, this seems like a simple way to group words, but soon it becomes much more tangled. Imagine you are sorting your clothes. You put red shirts in one pile and blue shirts in another. Most items clearly belong in one or the other. But what if a shirt is both red and blue? Or what if you ask, is red a red shirt? This back and forth is like the Grelling-Nelson paradox in language. It challenges our neat categories and pushes us to think more deeply about how language works. Just like in life, things are not always clear-cut, and some questions can twist back on themselves. To relate this to everyday life, think about how we describe ourselves or others. Sometimes the words we use fit perfectly: kind, funny, or quiet. Other times the labels feel off or confusing. Maybe someone calls themselves shy, but seems very outgoing. Or maybe you feel strong even when you seem weak. These everyday experiences remind us that words are tools, but they don't always capture the full truth. The Grelling-Nelson paradox gently highlights this mismatch between language and reality. This paradox also connects with bigger ideas about belief and self-understanding. When words describe themselves, it feels like a small truth is revealed, but when they don't, it challenges us to rethink how we see ourselves and others. We often want clear answers in life, yes or no, true or false, but the world around us is richer and more complex. This paradox is a quiet reminder that some questions don't have simple answers, and that is okay. In mental health, this idea can be comforting. Sometimes we struggle with labels or diagnoses that don't seem to fit how we feel inside. We might be called anxious but feel calm, or labeled introverted but crave company. The paradox encourages gentle patience with ourselves and others, inviting us to hold space for contradictions without rushing to judgment. Language itself is alive and full of surprises. It shapes how we think and communicate. When words can describe or fail to describe themselves, it shows the flexibility and mystery of language. This mystery is part of what makes communication so rich but also challenging. It's like trying to catch a breeze or describe a color you've never seen. The Grelling-Nelson paradox invites us to enjoy this dance between clarity and mystery. Even in technology and AI, this paradox has meaning. When AI tries to understand language, it must face these tricky cases: words that don't fit neatly into categories, meanings that twist and turn. AI systems must learn to manage uncertainty and ambiguity much like humans do. This makes language one of the most fascinating and challenging puzzles in both minds and machines. Now, as you sit quietly, imagine a word floating gently in the air, short or long. Notice how it feels to think about words that talk about themselves. There is a soft beauty in this reflection, a calm invitation to look deeper at the everyday things we usually take for granted. Before we drift further, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt like a word didn't quite fit what you were or how you felt? Or maybe you found a word that seemed to capture you perfectly. Share your thoughts below. Your stories add warmth and connection to this calm space we're creating together. If this gentle exploration touched your mind or heart, please leave a comment and subscribe for more quiet moments with life's small mysteries. Remember, language is not just words, it's a living conversation, full of surprises and softness. May your days be filled with moments where words and meaning meet in peaceful harmony. Buralai 40. Have you ever tried to list everything you own, only to realize that the moment you finish, there's always something new to add? Imagine you start with 1 sock, then 2 socks, then 3. You keep counting. 4, 5, 6, each time naming a new item. But what if you aimed to list all the socks you would ever have, past, present, and future? You soon find that your list grows faster than you can keep up, and you can never finish. This unfolding chase between counting what exists and trying to contain it is at the heart of the Buralai 40 paradox. It sounds abstract, yet it mirrors those moments in life when our plans, our thoughts, or our emotions seem to outrun the neat lists we try to make of them. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to know, where are you listening from right now? Perhaps you're curled up in a warm chair, resting after a busy day, or maybe you're gazing out a window at the first hints of twilight. Share your spot in the comments below, and if you enjoy these calm explorations of mind and meaning, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. In mathematics, we often talk about order, just like ordering books on a shelf or lining up students. By height, we call the positions in these ordered lists ordinals, first, second, third, and so on. For any list that goes on, we can name each position. But what happens if we try to make a list of all ordinals? We imagine a giant list. First, second, third, climbing past every number we can name. Now, if that list itself has a position, say the last ordinal, that would mean there is an ordinal bigger than every other ordinal, but by definition, ordinals keep going. There is always a next one. So claiming a last ordinal creates a contradiction. This is the Burali-Forty paradox, the idea that the collection of all ordinals, when treated as another ordinal, must be both in the list and not in the list at the same time. Order outgrows any attempt to confine it. To bring this into everyday life, think about your to-do list. You might start with a few tasks: laundry, groceries, maybe a phone call. As you cross one off, you think of another. Don't forget to water the plants. Soon, the list grows. Reply to emails. Plan tomorrow's schedule. Remember to breathe. No matter how many items you add, one more thought slips in. You try to find the end of your list, but there is always something new. A thought about your goals, a reminder of a dream you had, a flicker of anxiety. Your mind's to-do list becomes like the ordinals, ever expanding, resisting closure. In relationships, we often try to define someone by a set of qualities. Kind, supportive, fun, but people grow and change. You might say, "I know everything about you," and yet tomorrow brings a new surprise. A hidden hobby, a fresh perspective, a deeper feeling. Attempting to list all the aspects of a person can lead to discovery after discovery. Just when you think you've named every trait, there is another, just beyond your reach. This gentle unpredictability echoes the paradox of ordering what is unorderable. Even the language we use has its own ordinals. We might say, "This is the final chapter," or "That was the last word on the subject." Yet, conversation flows, new thoughts emerge, and soon there is a sequel, another chapter, another word. Words themselves defy absolute boundaries when we allow our minds to wander. Burali-Forty's idea reminds us that any attempt at absolute finality risks missing the news that will always arrive. In the realm of beliefs, we sometimes feel like we have our understanding in order. We rank our convictions. I believe this for sure. I'm less sure about that. I'm still exploring this idea. But as we learn, our beliefs shift. A small piece of new information can add another level to our ordinal belief list. We may think we've reached the end of what we know, then step into a new thought that extends the sequence. This continuous unfolding reflects the paradoxical dance of knowing and not knowing. For mental health, this paradox has a soft lesson. We might make a plan to heal, set steps 1, 2, 3. Each step helps, and we feel a sense of progress. But healing often has no neat endpoint. Emotions, memories, and thoughts can return in new forms. Just when we feel we've completed one stage, another subtle layer surfaces. This isn't failure, it's part of being human. The Burali-Forty paradox invites us to hold our healing journey gently, without demanding a final last step, a perfect ending. Instead, we can find peace in the ongoing process, knowing that growth continues in ways both expected and surprising. In artificial intelligence, there is a similar struggle. AI systems often rely on layers of learning, each layer adding more complexity. Engineers might think they've reached the final model, only to discover new data or new tasks that demand further layers. Trying to list all future improvements or to declare a last version of an AI is like listing all ordinals. There is always a next level. This awareness helps us approach AI development with flexibility, open to continuous refinement rather than fixed endpoints. As you breathe in and out now, notice how your own life's order and chaos intertwine. Perhaps you feel the calm of steady progress, item by item, day by day, or maybe you sense the gentle tug of new thoughts that defy any final list. Both are real. Both are part of the magic of living in time. Before we close, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt that your plans, your lists, or your understanding just wouldn't end? Where did you find peace when the next item arrived? Share your experiences in the comments below. Our community is here to listen, learn, and support each other in life's endless unfolding. If this calm reflection on the Burali 40 paradox spoke to you, please tap like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more peaceful journeys into the soft mysteries of thought. Remember, order can guide us, but it will never confine us completely. May you find balance and wonder in every step, every discovery, and every new ordinal of your own unfolding story. Petersburg game. Imagine someone walks up to you with a simple offer. Play a game where you flip a coin. If it lands on tails the first time, you win $2. If it lands on tails the second time, you win $4. If it takes 3 flips, you win $8. 4 flips, $16, and so on. Every time you get heads before the first tails, the payout doubles. Theoretically, you could win millions, billions even, if the coin just keeps landing heads before finally landing tails. It sounds like a dream. A never-ending reward growing, with every extra moment of suspense. And now imagine they ask you, how much would you pay to play? Strangely, even though the math says this game offers infinite rewards, most people would only pay a small amount. Some would even walk away entirely. That strange hesitation, that quiet pull between logic and instinct, is what makes the Petersburg game so fascinating. Before we explore why that is, I'd love to know, if you were offered this game right now, how much would you pay to join? Share your answer in the comments. And if you enjoy these kinds of calming puzzles of life and thought, please like this video, subscribe, and leave a gentle comment below. It really helps us grow together. Let's go back to that coin flip. You might think, I could get lucky. It might land tails right away. And that's true. If it does, you win $2 instantly. But the longer it takes to hit tails, the bigger your payout. If it lands on heads once, then tails, you get $4. Heads twice, then tails, $8. And it just keeps going. So let's say you try to calculate what the average winnings would be. That's called the expected value. And if you do the math, something strange happens. You realize the expected value is actually infinite. Each possible result adds a smaller and smaller chance, but a bigger and bigger reward. So when you add it all together, the sum just keeps growing. Mathematically, this game is worth an infinite amount of money, but in real life, no one treats it that way. Most people wouldn't even pay $25 to play. Some would only pay $1 or $2. Why? The answer isn't just about money, it's about how we feel. Think of those times you bought a lottery ticket, or entered a contest, or placed a tiny bet with a friend. You knew you might win, but you also felt the odds. You understood the difference between possible and probable. Just because something can happen doesn't mean it will. And when we think emotionally, when we think as human beings, we trust that feeling more than the math. Now, imagine applying that same feeling to life. You prepare for an exam. You think, if I study 1 more hour, maybe I'll get 2 more points. So you do. Then another hour, then another. But eventually, your mind gets tired. You hit a point where the reward doesn't feel worth the effort. You feel like you're playing the Petersburg game. Yes, technically each extra hour might help, but you also know there's a limit to what you can take. There's a limit to how far your patience can stretch, or take relationships. Maybe you invest more and more energy trying to make someone happy, hoping for a perfect moment. You give more time, more thought, more love. And yet, the moment never quite arrives. You're stuck hoping the next coin flip will finally land the way you want. But deep down, you start to feel that something's off. The logic says, keep going, but your heart quietly tells you to stop. That's the Petersburg game again, endless potential, yet very real limits. Even in our daily habits, we sometimes chase an ideal. Think of a time you tried to build the perfect morning routine. You added stretching, then journaling, then reading, then cold showers, then affirmations. Each piece added value. But soon the routine became too long. You couldn't keep up. The reward was still there, but you didn't want to play anymore. That's because life isn't just about stacking up value. It's about knowing when the effort feels real and when it becomes imaginary. This paradox also shows up in belief. Some people chase the perfect idea, the flawless philosophy, the complete explanation for everything. They study endlessly, trying to find the answer that ties everything together. But the more they read, the more complex it gets. Every truth leads to another question, and eventually they stop and ask themselves, am I closer to understanding, or just flipping the coin again? It reminds us that knowledge can be powerful, but it also needs rest. In mental health, this paradox gently whispers a reminder. You might think, if I keep working on myself, I'll finally be happy. You read books, try new habits, challenge old thoughts. Each step helps, but sometimes the chase itself becomes exhausting. Healing isn't just about adding steps. Sometimes it's about knowing when to sit still and breathe. The Petersburg game reminds us, just because more reward might be out there doesn't mean we always have to go after it. Even in the world of AI, this paradox echoes. Developers build smarter models. Each new version promises better results, more knowledge, more accuracy, and yet they reach a point where improvement slows. The system becomes so big that managing it takes more effort than it gives back. The reward keeps doubling, but the real benefit doesn't. It's like chasing an infinite jackpot that never feels worth the price. So why do we feel this gap between math and meaning? Why does a game with endless rewards make us hesitate? The answer lies in trust. How much we trust the path, the process, and the people around us. When we look at that coin and think, maybe I'll win $1 million, our heart quietly adds, but maybe I won't. And that quiet voice matters, because it's not just about logic, it's about living. Next time you face a choice that seems too good to be true, pause for a moment. Ask yourself not just what the math says, but what your own rhythm tells you. Do you feel peace in that decision? Or do you feel like you're flipping the coin one more time, chasing a payout that never feels real? If you've ever felt like life was offering you too much on paper but not enough in feeling, I'd love to hear your story. Was there a time you stepped away from the game? Or a time you kept playing and learned something new? Share in the comments. We're all here, learning quietly from one another. And if this calm reflection brought you clarity or comfort, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more soft journeys into thought and wonder. The Petersburg game may promise infinity, but peace often lies in knowing when enough is truly enough. Surreal numbers. What if I told you there are numbers larger than infinity, and also numbers smaller than 0, yet not quite negative? Numbers that exist in between all the numbers we already know. Imagine trying to count forever, and then finding out there's still something beyond that. It sounds like a dream, or maybe a glitch in reality. But it's real, at least in theory. These strange creatures are called surreal numbers. They stretch beyond everything we thought numbers could be. And they quietly whisper something deep about how we see the world, how we make sense of endless things. Before we drift into this curious idea, I'd love to ask, have you ever felt like time stretched endlessly in a moment? Or maybe like you were stuck between two feelings with no clear middle? If so, share your story in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this soft journey through the puzzles of thought, please like this video, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. Every voice adds to this quiet space of learning. Let's begin with something simple. Think about the number 1. Just a regular number. Now imagine the number 2. We know there's something in between, right? Like 1.5. And between 1 and 1.5? Well, there's 1.25. And even smaller, 1.125. It goes on forever. Between any two numbers, you can always find another. It never stops. That's already a bit strange, isn't it? You could spend your whole life looking between two numbers and still never finish. But now, what if we go beyond even that? Imagine you have a number so big, it makes infinity look small, and yet it still follows rules. You can add to it, subtract, from it, multiply it. Or imagine a number so tiny, so close to 0 that it's smaller than any normal number, but still not 0. It's like the softest whisper of something, just barely there. These are surreal numbers. They stretch wider than the biggest thought, and they sneak between the smallest cracks of anything we thought was solid. They're not just part of math. They are a way to think. Think of it like the weather. You might say it's hot today, 35 degrees, but maybe yesterday was 34.8 degrees, and tomorrow might be 35.1. We already accept that temperature can slide smoothly, but surreal numbers ask, what if there were temperatures between those tiny slices too? What if the thermometer could show things so exact, so gently placed between the usual points that it almost felt like time had slowed? The numbers keep fitting themselves in, like threads in a never-ending cloth. Or imagine relationships. You say you're close to someone, not a best friend, but more than just an acquaintance. Where exactly are you on that emotional scale? You might say, we're kind of close. That kind of is its own number. It's not measurable like 1 or 2, but it lives somewhere in between. Our minds already use surreal numbers without realizing it. Whenever we feel something vague, subtle, or in between, now think about moments. Maybe you're waiting for exam results. The time between finishing the test and seeing the marks feels endless. It's only a few days, maybe a week. But the feeling of waiting, how it stretches, how it fills your chest, with quiet tension, that's not something regular numbers explain. Surreal numbers speak to that part of time. They suggest that waiting can have its own sizes, not just hours or minutes, but experiences that stretch, twist, or shrink depending on how we feel. In the world of belief and philosophy, surreal numbers tell us something more. They suggest that truth isn't always one thing or another. It's not always black or white. Sometimes truth feels like something in between, half known, half felt. A number that lives not in the real world but in the space between thoughts. Something you believe in, even when you can't prove it. And in mental health, these ideas softly show up too. Imagine you're healing from something hard. Maybe sadness, maybe anxiety. Some days you feel a little better, but it's not a jump from sad to happy. It's tiny steps, invisible improvements, feelings that are not quite nameable. That's where surreal numbers live, inside the spaces we usually ignore. They help us give shape to emotions that don't fit simple scales. Even in artificial intelligence, surreal numbers have meaning. Think about how an AI system tries to learn. It doesn't always jump from wrong to right. It adjusts, bit by bit. Sometimes the changes are so small they're barely noticeable. But they still matter. These are not just updates. They are shifts that happen inside layers of learning too, small to see but powerful enough to change direction. The surreal helps machines and people grow in subtle, quiet ways. So why does this idea feel so calming, so mysterious? Maybe because it reminds us that life isn't made only of clear lines and big steps. It's made of in-between moments. The sigh before sleep, the breath before speaking, the silence between notes in music. These are all surreal in their own way. They are not nothing. They are the soft fabric holding everything together. We often try to measure our lives in big numbers. How much money we have, how many hours we've worked, how many followers we've gained. But surreal numbers remind us that the most meaningful parts of life might be the ones we can't measure. In normal ways, the love you feel in a glance, the weight of a goodbye, the warmth of a small kindness. These are real, but not countable. They live in that dream space between the obvious and the invisible. So the next time you feel like something matters, but can't explain why, or when time feels fast, slow, or stuck, or when an answer feels close but not quite there, think of surreal numbers. Think of the idea that beyond what we see, there's more, not in a loud way, but in a soft and steady way. Something is always unfolding, quietly, between the lines, and maybe that's what makes life beautiful. Not the giant leaps, but the tiny steps, the half-feelings, the almost thoughts, the near wishes, the numbers we don't see but feel. It's surreal. If this gentle reflection brought a new sense of peace or curiosity, I'd be honored if you'd like this video, subscribe, and share your quiet thoughts in the comments. What's one moment in your life that felt hard to measure, yet deeply real? Let us know. We're all learning together, between the lines, one soft step at a time. Cretin liar. What if someone looked you in the eye and said, "I always lie"? Now pause. Think about that for a second. If they're telling the truth, then they must be lying. But if they're lying, then maybe they're telling the truth? It's like stepping onto a staircase that folds back into itself, no matter where you stand. A thought that keeps circling, never settling. It sounds simple, just a sentence, but it pulls your mind into a loop that has no end. And strangely, you've probably felt this before. Not just in philosophy class, but in life, in relationships, in decisions that didn't quite make sense. Before we dive deeper into this curious little twist of logic, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever heard someone say something that confused you, not because of the words, but because of what they meant? Something that felt true and false at the same time? Let us know in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this slow, thoughtful space, feel free to like the video and subscribe. Your presence here helps us all slow down and wonder together. So let's begin with the sentence. This sentence is false. That's all it says. Just 6 words. It sounds harmless. But the moment you try to understand it, your brain gets pulled in both directions. If the sentence is telling the truth, then it must be false. But if it's false, then it's not false, it's true. It keeps bouncing back and forth. There's no solid place to land. It's like trying to sit on a chair that disappears the moment you trust it. This is called the Cretin liar paradox, and it's one of the oldest mind puzzles in history. It started with a man from Crete, thousands of years ago. He said, "All Cretans are liars," but he was a Cretan himself. So, was he lying? And if he was lying, then maybe not all Cretans lie. But then again, maybe he was telling the truth and lying at the same time. This may sound like a word game, but it quietly asks something very deep. Can truth ever be absolute? Or is it something that slips when you try to grab it? Let's bring this idea into daily life. Imagine a friend tells you, "You can never trust what I say." That's confusing, right? If you believe them, then you can't believe them. But if you don't believe them, then maybe they're actually telling the truth. This kind of sentence feels like quicksand. The more you try to solve it, the more stuck you become. And the truth is, life often feels like that. We get caught in moments where words and meaning don't match, where someone says they're fine, but their eyes say they're hurting, where we say we're over something, but deep down, it still lives in us. Even something like exams can bring out this strange loop. You might think, "I know I don't know anything." But wait, if you know that, then you do know something, right? This loop of knowing and not knowing, of truth and doubt, keeps spinning, especially during stressful times. We feel stuck between two realities, and both seem to cancel each other out. In relationships, this paradox shows up in softer ways. Someone might say, "I don't care anymore," but their voice cracks just slightly, or they check in with you later just to make sure you're okay. Their words say one thing, but their actions say something else. Which one is the truth? Maybe both, maybe neither. The Cretin liar lives in moments like these, where certainty breaks down and we're left floating between meanings. Even belief can get tangled in this paradox. Think about faith, whether in people, in a higher power, or even in yourself. You might say, I believe that I doubt, but if you believe it, is it really doubtful anymore? These small sentences twist around our usual ways of thinking. They remind us that truth isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it's a circle or a spiral. And when we talk about language itself, this paradox becomes even more powerful. Language is supposed to help us explain things. But what happens when language loops back on itself? This sentence is false. It's using language to break language. And that shows us something quietly important. Words can't always hold everything we feel or think. There are places in our minds where meaning becomes soft, slippery, or even impossible to fully catch. And maybe that's okay. In the world of artificial intelligence, the Cretan liar touches on how machines understand, meaning, an AI might read the sentence, "This sentence is false," and freeze. It can't solve the loop. It's stuck because logic has no place to rest. And that shows us the limits of pure calculation. Human thoughts don't always follow straight paths. We carry contradiction, complexity, and confusion. And sometimes that makes us wiser, not weaker. Mental health is another space where this paradox gently whispers. Think about a thought like, I feel like I'm not really myself. It sounds simple, but it's full of looping doubt. Who is the self that's saying that? And if you can say it, aren't you still you? It's hard to pin down. Or consider when someone says, I don't deserve to feel better. That's a sentence that carries pain and falsehood together. The feeling is real, but the belief may not be. These loops don't need to be solved. Sometimes they just need to be heard. Even in quiet moments, this paradox can echo. Lying in bed, thoughts drifting, you might hear yourself think, I don't know what I'm thinking. And somehow, that feels true. Like a cloud that knows it's foggy. That's the beauty of the Cretan liar. It doesn't demand answers, it invites us to sit with mystery. So, what do we do with a sentence like, this sentence is false? Maybe we don't try to fix it. Maybe we let it be a mirror. A reminder that not everything fits neatly into true or false. Life isn't always about getting the right answer. It's about sitting with the strange, the unsolvable, the deeply human, and perhaps that's the real lesson here. We live in loops all the time. We forgive someone and still feel hurt. We let go, but still hold on. We say we're fine, while quietly waiting for someone to notice we're not. These are not mistakes. They're not failures. They're part of what it means to be human. Complex, layered, and yes, sometimes paradoxical. So the next time you feel caught between two thoughts, two truths, or two emotions, remember this little sentence. This sentence is false. It's not just a puzzle, it's a window, a way to see the gentle chaos inside all of us. If this reflection brought some calm or sparked a quiet question in your heart, I'd love for you to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What's a moment in your life that felt both true and false at the same time? Let's wander together. Because maybe, just maybe, the most beautiful truths are the ones that hold a little bit of mystery. Tarski's Undefinable. Imagine waking up one morning and trying to explain what truth means. You sit quietly and begin to form the sentence in your mind. But as you try to define it, something slips away. Every time you think you've got it, the meaning changes just a little. The more you try to capture the idea, the more it moves beyond your reach. It feels strange. How can something so important, something we use every day, refuse to be fully defined from within the world we live in? It's like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror. And yet, this small, quiet confusion points to one of the deepest ideas in logic, something that asks, can we ever fully explain truth using the same system that depends on it? Before we go deeper, I'd love to know, has there ever been a moment where something felt true, but you couldn't quite explain why? Maybe a gut feeling, or something in a dream, or even a decision you made with no clear reason. Let me know in the comments and share where you're watching from. It's always calming to hear from different corners of the world, all gathering here, to think gently together. And if you enjoy these slow, thoughtful reflections, feel free to like this video and subscribe. Your presence makes this space feel warmer, more connected. Now let's return to that odd idea. Tarski's undefinability theorem tells us something very simple, but very deep. You cannot define the idea of truth inside the same system that uses it. That might sound confusing at first, but it becomes clearer with an everyday example. Imagine you're standing in a room with no windows. You want to know if it's raining outside, but there's no door, no way to see beyond the room. All you have is the objects and signs inside the room. Maybe a coat, an umbrella, a clock. You can guess, you can make patterns, but you can't really know what's outside. The system you're in is closed. It can't tell you the full truth about something bigger than itself. This is how Tarski saw the truth. If you're inside a system, like a language, a game, or even a set of beliefs, you can use the word truth all you want. But the moment you try to define it completely, something breaks. The system can't describe its own truth without stepping outside of itself. But where is outside? That's where the loop begins. Let's bring this closer to life. Think of someone going through exams. They might say, "I studied hard, so I'll do well." But deep inside, they're unsure. They're using a rule, a belief, something they've learned. But what if the system itself, the way they think about success, is flawed? What if they've always linked hard work with reward? But this time the test is different. The truth in this case lies outside their usual way of thinking, and because they're stuck inside it, they can't see it clearly. Relationships are full of moments like this. Imagine someone says, "If you love me, you'll understand me." It sounds fair, but what if both people are using different ways to define what love means? They're inside their own emotional systems. Each person thinks they know what love is, what understanding is. But they don't realize they're using different rules. They can't fully define the truth of the relationship from within it. They need to step outside, to listen, to reflect, to see from another view. Even something as simple as the weather can reflect this paradox. You look outside and say, "It's cold," but someone else feels warm at the same moment. Who's right? What is the truth? If both people are inside their own systems, one wearing a coat, one in a t-shirt, the truth becomes something that can't be pinned down by just one point of view. You'd need to step outside of both experiences to really see the full picture. But most of the time, we can't do that. We live inside our systems. Tarski's idea also touches language. We use words to explain things, but we also try to use words to explain words, and that gets messy. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It keeps slipping through the gaps. When we say something is true, we usually mean it matches reality. But what is reality? How do we know our words are enough? Tarski said we'd need a bigger language, a broader view, to really define truth. But we're always using the smaller one, the one we're inside. So we chase meaning, but it runs just ahead of us. This reaches deep into mental health too. Sometimes someone might say, "I'm fine," but they don't feel fine. They're using a language that doesn't match their inner world, and yet they might not have better words. The system they're inside, the thoughts, the beliefs, the pressure to appear strong, can't explain what they're truly feeling. And so, the truth stays hidden, undefinable. Not because it isn't there, but because it can't be said fully from within the system that's holding it. This paradox even helps us think about artificial intelligence. A machine can be programmed to use rules, to solve problems, to say things that sound true, but can it understand the truth, not just match a rule, but feel the meaning behind it? If the AI is working inside a fixed system, it can't fully grasp the truth the way a human does, because truth isn't just logic, it's experience. It's doubt, change, emotion, things that live outside the code. Tarski's paradox shows us that sometimes we need a mirror, something that reflects our system back to us, so we can see where we are. But even mirrors have limits. You can see your face, but not your thoughts. You can hear your voice, but not your meaning. So we live in this gentle mystery, trying to define something from the inside, always just a little out of reach. And maybe that's not a problem. Maybe it's a quiet beauty, that some things stay soft, uncertain, undefined. That truth isn't a box we build, but a space we move through. That the search itself, asking, wondering, reflecting, is a kind of truth on its own. So if you've ever felt like you can't quite explain what's real to you, you're not alone. We all live inside our own rooms, our own systems. We use the tools we have, and sometimes that's enough. Other times we need to step back, look wider, and say, maybe the truth is bigger than this. If this thought brought you some peace or a quiet question to sit with, I invite you to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What's a time when you tried to explain something real, but the words didn't quite work? Let's gather these moments together. Because in this space, we're not trying to solve everything, we're just trying to see a little more clearly, together.